We are live.
Good evening, everyone. I am calling this meeting of the Historic Districts Review Board to order. This is the 22nd virtual meeting, and who knows, maybe, well, we haven't heard from the city, but maybe pretty soon we'll be meeting in person. I don't know. But anyway, today we are May the 11th, 2020, and Melissa, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Chair Rios.
Here.
Vice Chair Katz.
Here.
Member Beachai.
Here.
Member Wien Benu.
Excused.
Thank you. Member Guida.
Excused.
Member Larson.
Here.
Member Roybal.
Excused.
Thank you. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, Nicole.
Case number 2021-003535 HDRB at 910 Old Santa Fe Trail will be heard. The applicant has postponed to June 8th. And then case 2021-003461 HDRB, we would like to request that it be postponed to a date certain of May 25th.
Which
And
case?
that one was at what address?
459 Camino Manzano, sorry.
Okay.
The applicant wasn't able to attend tonight due to an emergency.
Oh, okay. Anything else? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda as just amended?
So moved.
That was member Katz. And please state your name when you're making a motion.
Beachai will second.
Beachside second. Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Member Beachai.
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz.
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you. This evening, we have no minutes, and those will be heard. We will have the minutes of April the 27th and also May the 4th at the agenda of May 25th. Also, the findings and conclusions, we have none of those. They will also be presented to us on May 25th. Any matters from the public? Let me look and see if we have anyone wanting to speak at this moment. Stephanie Benenato.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, Stephanie.
Thank you. I just want to say that I was a little disappointed last week when you approved the the seamed roof, metal roof on the house on Dungas, the 700 block. Because when I look around and I have relatives who live on in the 700 block, everything's shingled. There may be one house in the 900 block, and I have to go back and look, that has a metal roof, but it's a totally different type of structure. And again, if you're looking at things within 600 feet of the building, as was done and had to be defended on the 542 Camino Montesor, the Eugenie Chenard house, which the applicant used as an example, was probably 3/4 of a mile from there and has nothing to do with that streetscape. And I think that member Bienvenue brought up a really good point last week about being consistent, really, I think, is part of what he was bringing up. And I think the board needs to really concentrate on being consistent as they apply different standards. And that's all I have to say. And I do admire Ms. Perez's energy there. Maybe she's eating sugar to help her. But she and I were just at a hearing for an hour and a half, that ended a little past 4:30, and here she is looking bright and chipper, ready to go for this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. There were no other members with their hands up from the public, so we will move on to staff communications. And Nicole, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, Madam Chair and board members. So as you know, May is Preservation Month, and the city participates along with the Old Santa Fe Association and with Historic Santa Fe Association through awards. I prepared a PowerPoint of the nominations. Some of the categories only have one nomination, and then two of the categories have multiple. I know in the past that there's been a ballot, and you would vote by ballot, and then staff would tally and determine who the winner was or who the awardee would be. And but this year we're going to do the voting here in order to comply with the Open Meetings Act. So I'll show the PowerPoint and we can go through. And Sally, I don't know if there's any particular like language or anything that differentiates this non-action by the board vote versus how they vote for cases.
Thank you, Nicole, Madam Chair, members of the board. Because this is, I mean, it's public business. It's a ceremonial function that we participate in voluntarily as opposed to sort of falling within the board's regular duties and obligations. But I think it's still something that's important to go ahead and do on the record in terms of the voting. So I just recommend, I move to nominate. Second, discussion. You can do as much discussion as you want. You can propose an alternative motion in the course of saying, I'm not going to vote for this because I actually think this other one should go in first place. So the same way we would handle other motions, and I'm happy to help more if there's questions.
In the past, of course, the ballots have been confidential. And I'm just wondering how board members feel this evening. And you had the explanation from the city attorney and from Nicole that it's fine to go forward. I'm wondering how board members feel. Member Katz.
Yeah, I was wondering whether we would have a chance to discuss after the presentation about which ones we think are good and which ones we think maybe shouldn't be nominated. Would that be appropriate, Sally?
Absolutely. Yeah. Nicole just mentioned that sometimes there's been ballots in the past, and even though this isn't technically an action item in the same way that deciding the quasi-judicial cases is, I still think it's important to just do it on the record. But sure, absolutely. I encourage a discussion before a motion if that's, or someone could make a motion and then proceed to discussions. We could second just for the sake of proceeding to discussion, and then feel free to discuss. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
And Sally, I do not have to ask for public comment on this, do I?
No, there's no requirement. It's really a ceremonial function. I just, in reading, I read the Open Meetings Act as broadly as we can to really say anything that we're talking about that's public business should be open and as part of our open meeting. So that sort of was my recommendation. That's why I thought we ought to do it this way. So.
Okay. That's okay. If everybody feels comfortable, I prefer the confidential, the old way, but anyway, majority rules, and we'll go forward with this. So Nicole, you have the floor.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay, so this is a simple presentation, and I appreciate everyone who helped offer nominations. And I will say on a personal level that I really enjoyed visiting these properties because some of them had been my cases when I worked before at the city. So it was really awesome to see them completed. So that was nice. Okay, so the first award that we have is Architectural Preservation Award, which is an outstanding example or examples of restoration or rehabilitation of a designated historic property. And 460 Camino de los Animas is the nominee. Okay, and Mr. Cherry was the one that provided the nomination. This house is significant. It's had kind of quite a history in terms of its construction and additions, and one addition in particular on the west side. However, it has many beautiful elements in the restoration of all the woodwork, and the interior of the house are remarkable. But you can see that all this carving that was done by Mr. Nordfeld. was kind of brought back to life a little bit. So that's the first award and the only nominee. The following is a compatible remodel award.
Excuse me, Nicole, are we gonna go? I think to me, it makes more sense if you present the award, the nominations,
Okay,
and then we act on the award,
okay,
okay?
okay.
And we can make any comments, first of all, I will entertain comments or whatever people have to say. And in this category, Architectural Preservation Award, for me, this is a house that is 100 years old or older, correct?
It is, yeah.
And I think they did a lovely job. And if you look closely, you can really see all the detail on the woodwork here, all the carvings that they did. And I think that, and look at the windows, the inside of the windows, the carving above the windows. I think for me, they did a lovely job. And of course, I like the white portal and the stonework. Member Katz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had wanted to nominate this because I think it's absolutely terrific. I hadn't realized they had finished, and I thought there had been some rule about you couldn't nominate something that wasn't finished or something, but it looks sure finished and it is beautiful.
It was just in the nick of time. I think 2 weeks ago, the final historic inspection occurred.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So any other members have comments? If not, I will entertain a motion. Member Katz.
Yes, I would move to select this in the category of restoration.
Larson seconds.
And roll call vote, please.
Member Beachide,
Yeah, enthusiastic, yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you. And it is under the category of Architectural Preservation Award. So thank you, Member Katz, and everybody else that voted on that. Thank you for that motion. Next, Nicole.
Okay. So the next category is Compatible Remodel Award, which is outstanding examples of remodeling that harmonize with historic structures in the historic districts. And we had several nominees for this. And there were several more, but they either weren't done or they hadn't started. 107 Cienega Street, 535 East Alameda, 340 Delgado Street, 1150 Camino San Ocasio, 210 Varela Street, 553 Aguafria Street, and 908 Galastea Street are the nominees. And we'll go through here. So 107 Cienega Street, it was nominated for its sensitive remodel of a contributing property. And this house was in rough shape, and it took a long time actually to kind of negotiate the types of changes that might occur with a remodel of this property. You can see that there's this little portal area. There were the trees overgrown, and the coping was very bad. There was an addition in the back that was quite in quite bad shape. And this is now what the property looks like. So they did a really nice job.
Yeah, I go through, I drive through Cienega, and I keep looking at this and thinking, oh, I really like this house, forgetting that it had been renovated recently. And what I like about this is, the wall is low, it's not a huge house, and then they put a low see-through gate. I thought this was very nicely done. Any other comments? Okay, go ahead and go to the next one.
Okay, Mr. Aaron Bohr of Zydeco 66 nominated this property at 535 East Alameda. And there was a long narrative about the nomination. And this property is in both the remodel category and the new construction category. And this is for the Mrs. Ashley Pond House restoration and refurbishment. And these are the photos provided. Okay. Then go on to the next. Oh, I see.
Any comments? Member Katz?
Yes, I was upset at this. I was upset that the board had approved one of the new houses that blocked the view of the Mrs. Ashley Pond house. I was then upset more recently when it came back to be enlarged to completely block the Ashley Pond house, and the board voted not to allow that, and we were overturned by the city council, and it's not something that I could support in the light of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I will say that the photographs were, this photographs where they turned on the lights, I thought those were nice.
Mhm.
But anyway, go ahead and go to the next one.
Okay. 340 Delgado Street. This house was severely neglected. The woodwork was in terrible shape. The windows were in very terrible shape. There was some sagging in the portal. Many issues with it. I only had these black and white ones, but you can kind of see like the sag here. And it was just a generally rough shape. And Mr. McDowell did the remodel on this and did a really nice job, I think.
Thank you. Any comments, board members? None on this one? Next.
Okay, 1150 Camino San Ocasio. Dave and Sonia Salazar. This house came to the board for review for status, and the non-contributing status was maintained for the building, but they did a very sensitive remodel. This is what it looked like. It had the aluminum slider windows, needed a new roof. And then they also put an addition on the back. But this is a gentle and nice kind of remodel.
Yeah, I like this one. There were a lot in this category that I liked. It's going to be hard for me to make a decision because I like this one because they didn't change the style of the building itself, and we can still identify that this is from a day and time in the past, but they didn't go overboard in redoing it, and I think it looks very nice.
Pretty.
Frank. Member
Yes,
Katz.
I agree with the chair on this. I think it's a very sweet remodel. But I guess I think that there are others that are, sort of a better example or more extensive example, I would say. But I agree that the preservation of this has been very, very sweet.
Thank you. Nicole?
Okay, 210 Barella Street. So this property was a pretty major rehabilitation in the West Side Guadalupe Historic District, and it's contributing. This house was pretty dilapidated, and this pitched roof was not, it was a roof that was added on at some later date. Originally, the roof was a flat roof, and so for the remodel, they restored it to a flat roof property. And
Yeah, on this one, I love what they did because, again, they did not try to make a huge house out of this. And for me, I think it looks really classy. And I think they did a wonderful job. They really did a good job. If you look at the previous, as Nicole said, the previous pictures, it needed help. It was help me. And and the rehab, I just think it looks very nice.
Really pretty.
Next, Nicole.
Okay, 553 Aguafria Street. Mr. Dale Zinn nominated this project, and he wrote that the project was undertaken to preserve historic form and footprint and to retain historic fabric to the greatest extent possible. Of note are the metal sash windows retained in a unique manner, demonstrating how this can be done elsewhere. Often we have metal windows that are too bent and can't be, let me see here. Okay, so here's the property before. And here's the property after. And these are the metal sash windows that were maintained, and this is the primary.
I think another good project, if you look at the old, the previous, and then the rehab.
Yeah.
It's an improvement.
Significant. Okay.
Thank you, Nicole. Next.
908 Galastea Street. This is what the property looked like before. And this is what it looks like currently.
I think they did a really nice job on this. And I like that gate, that see-through little white gate that isn't ginormous. And I think this fits very nicely in that neighborhood. Thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome. Okay, so those are the compatible remodel cases. And I can go back to anything if you would like, or.
There were 7 nominees in this category. I don't know how the board would feel or how Nicole would feel. Can we nominate 2 of them? Is that a possibility, or you're being really strict in just 1?
I'm going to say to be very strict in just 1, but with the caveat that we have a running list going of properties that might be good for next year. And so we can put these nominees on the list for next year as well.
Okay. Member Flynn, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Nicole, would you mind going back to the San Ocasio Street slide? I think it was the first one.
Sure, I'm gonna escape out of here and just go up here. So that's the before. And then this is the after.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just had a couple of notes about this one. And I think that Cecilia said it right, where, it's really a nice example of a low wall that still preserves the facade. And it also shows how important it is to cut back any vegetation that will protect the house in the future. And it'll also enrich the character of the streetscape. And I really like the paint color they chose for the gate and the door. I think it looks really nice.
Okay, Member Katz.
Yes, I share the chair's feeling about I'm very torn because there's so many good ones. And I think that Doug McDowell did just a fabulous job on the Delgado Street house. But ultimately, I would like to move to nominate the Barella Street house as just a charming job and a great preservation job to bring it back to the flat roof that it originally had. I would like to nominate 210 Barella Street for the award.
Larson will second it.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you. And, you know, for me, I like to kind of spread the awards, and I'm glad that this is on the west side. Because you know that we hear most of the cases that we hear are on the east side, but obviously we hear cases on the west side and we hear cases in the Don Gaspar district. But so I'm glad you nominated this one. And you stuck by your guns, Miss Nicole. We will only have one. Oh, Jennifer, did you have something to say? Oh, you're muted. Member Beachside, you are muted.
Sorry.
Yes.
I just was going to say, with respect to that nomination, I thought there's several, San Ocasio, Aguafria, and Galastea. I really appreciate those remodels as like gentle tweaks to what was there, just restoring what was there. But Barella, when someone makes the effort to return something to its origins, that really should be recognized. So I appreciate that you know, the removal of the pitched roof, and it takes some extra effort and sort of vision to remember what is important there. So I'm glad we've recognized them.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Nicole, next.
All right. So now is the compatible construction award. And this is outstanding examples of new construction that harmonizes with historic structures in the historic districts. And we have 535 East Alameda, 335 Gourmet Lane, 918 Acequia Madre Unit G, 535 Apodaca Hill, and 814 Adelaide. Okay, and this again, Mr. Boer, who is a contractor, nominated this property. And these are the photos. Okay, and then I'll move on. 335 Gourmet Lane. This property was built in the Spanish Pueblo Revival style, and this lot was very narrow, and Gourmet Lane is very narrow. And it has kind of a pocket of open space. And this is the property that Mr. Wong designed and built. And it's tucked in very nicely. Came out really nice.
Any comments? I'd like this one. I grew up in that area. And I remember when there were barely any houses on Gourmet Lane. And now there's quite a number of houses there. But I think they did a very nice, sensitive job. You know, they didn't try to go huge. I think I like it. Any other comments? Okay, go ahead and move to the next.
Okay, 918 Acequia Madre, Unit G. New construction. This is a new development. It was also very open not that long ago, and there are now several houses right off of Acequia.
Thank you. Member Katz.
Yeah, I think that they really did a beautiful job on this house. It just fits in very beautifully. It doesn't look huge and overwhelming. I think they had a lot more space than the Gourmet Lane house, which I also am very impressed with. But I think this is just a little bit more sophisticated, larger house.
Yeah, definitely sophisticated. They did the step downs, and yeah, definitely in the Santa Fe style. Thank you. Nicole, next.
Okay. 535 Apodaca Hill. It's a new construction. This part of the property is complete. There is a garage being added, but that's under a separate permit, so. Oops, excuse me. Okay. Should I go on?
Yes, please.
Okay. 814 Adelaide. This was Architectural Alliance, and then the homeowners Dale Lamson and Rondell West.
Any comment? Oh, Member Katz.
Yeah, I have a problem with this house, and maybe it's just because I grew up in early suburbia. And the idea of what we see from the road is the garage and that kind of very in-your-face roof deck on top of the garage without particularly attractive garage doors really kind of turns me off the design of the house. And it's very large, and I did notice that it's advertised for sale for $3.8 million. And it is described as a contemporary house, which is not what I think of as preserving the area. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? No? You can go ahead and move to the next one.
Okay. That was the last property in that category.
Oh, okay. So, did anybody want to comment on any particular one? I don't know. When we have nominations, I'm always drawn to the smaller projects. For the more simplistic projects, but let me see. Member Beachside has her hand up.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Chair Rios. Like the smaller infill projects are what sort of catch my eye. They're the more difficult, I would assume, to a design. And for that reason, I think Gourmet Lane is a really nice example. They didn't hide that property behind a wall. You can see every bit of it. And I believe we recently, well, not recently, but last time we were doing field trips, we went to a property at the end of Gourmet Lane. I think we all kind of admired this house on the way. I think it's, fits well into a tiny available piece of land and complements, it's sort of like a hidden gem off Canyon Road, right?
Oh, thank you for your comments. Member Katz?
Well, I agree with Jennifer, and I would happily move to nominate the Gourmet Lane property in the new construction category.
Thank you. And Member Beachside?
Beachside, second.
And roll call vote, please.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much. And would you move to the next category, Nicole?
Okay, and this is the Cultural Preservation Award, and it's given for outstanding examples of work toward the preservation and/or understanding of Santa Fe's unique cultural heritage. And 518 Alto Street is the nominee. Here's the nomination form. This property has a lot of interesting elements to it. And the reason that the Cultural Preservation Award was thought appropriate was for many reasons, including the restoration of the adobe, the retention of not original to the building, but historic moments of Santa Fe, including the Loretto Girls School windows and doors, and the people that lived in the house. And this was what it looked like. And then this is some of the restoration work that's been done. I thought that the work done on the exterior was pretty impressive. So, and then these are the some of the doors that were in the Loretto Chapel, and there's also windows. and they were restored as well.
You meant the Loretto School. as
Loretto
opposed
School,
to the
sorry.
Chapel, right?
Yeah, sorry.
They'd be taking away historic material. We wouldn't let them do that.
It would be more graphic.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is a wonderful, I'm glad that they're getting an award. Yeah, if you pass by there, every time I go on Alto, I have to look at that and admire it, obviously.
Yes.
And yeah, any other comments in reference to this particular property? If not, I will entertain a motion. Board members? Member Beachside.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the address, but I'd like to nominate the Alto Street.
518 Alto.
518 Alto for the Cultural Preservation Award.
And is there a second?
Catsford second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much. And the last category, Nicole?
Okay, so the Sarah Melton Award is given for outstanding examples of sensitive maintenance and rehabilitation of a historic structure. And 314 South Guadalupe is the nominee. And this property was also pretty dilapidated. It's owned by the Archdiocese. And it was one of the properties they had trouble with the upkeep on. It used to be the Santuario School, and then it's been a variety of other things like a rug shop and a clay store and a real estate agency office, I believe. And a few years ago, Ted Harrison thought of a great idea for adaptive reuse. And the remodel on the inside has been the most substantial, but he's retained a lot of the character on the interior as well as the exterior. And there's a lot more life to the building, but he was very, very careful in restoration of the woodwork or replacement as it was needed, stucco, re-roof, and he had pretty significant challenges in kind of bringing this property back to life. And again, it's a little bit subtle in terms of its restoration, but it really needed the care. And so he did a very nice job. This is kind of the previous, oops, whenever I move my mouse, photo, you know, the stucco was in kind of rough shape. And
Thank you. Member Katz?
Yeah, I think Ted did a great job on this, and I would move to select it as the Sarah Melton Award.
Member Beachside?
Member Beachside will second. This is a beautiful building. Really nice job.
Yeah, and subtle is good in my opinion. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you. Nicole, I noticed there wasn't a mayor's award.
we are working on that.
You're working on that, okay. And I believe you also said that we may, now that the cases of COVID are winding down, or it seems like that they are, that we might have a preservation award presentation in person.
Yes, so the hope was that we could have an event on May 20th. But given that the city hasn't yet kind of okayed staff and thereby board members and others kind of getting together, we're postponing that until the city gives the go-ahead for all the people related to the city to congregate. And the county building will be the location, and they've already agreed to hosting it, and they're very excited, and they intend to give tours all the restoration work that they've done. So that'll be really fun, I think, for as part of the event as well. And then we're hoping that we'll be able to have some kind of, social element of, at least water. We're not sure yet how that's going to work out. Or
I
food.
vote no for water.
So we have yet to kind of just determine that. And, the hope is kind of to do it in June, but it may be as late as September. But
Oh, wow. Mhm.
because we can have an event this year, we want to do it even if it's late. So in the meantime, the awardees will be announced in the New Mexican and in the Pasatiempo.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you and Sally will keep us informed in reference to any changes that are made at the city level. So in case we go in person.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, board members.
Thank you.
We will now move on to, there is nothing under old business on this agenda, so we will move to the new cases. And the first case is Daniel's case, and it's located at 810 Waldo Street. This is case 2021-003534. Daniel, would you tell us about this case?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. 810 Walt, sorry, give me a moment to get my PowerPoint.
Just for the record, we do have Steve Rivera here on behalf of the owner.
Okay.
PowerPoint's just opening up. It's taking its time. I'm gonna read the report and then open it as soon as it comes. 810 Waldo Street is a single family residential structure constructed in the Spanish Pueblo Revival style with contributing status to the Don Gaspar Historic District. Okay, I'm going to share my screen.
There we go.
Okay. I'm sure you're familiar with the district. This is an overview of the property. The east facade facing the street is the representative facade. That's this one. The site is covered with trees mostly from the public view. And the dotted line represents this bathroom addition on the side here. So this was the original structure, and this came at a later historic date. So the east facade facing the street is the representative facade, the others being more functional in their layout. Here you can see a diagram of the front facade with historic windows here and then a newer window. Here's the north facade. Again, this portion here at the front is, I believe it's just this part, is the bathroom addition. And the south, this is the central window on the east facade. The windows to the right of the portal are historic. We're referring to this front facade. So this is a historic window, and the one to the right of that, oops, is also a historic window. This belongs to the later bathroom addition. The west facade saw a remodel or a renovation in 2006. So this is a non-historic portion of the house in the rear. The windows and the doors are new. In October and December 2006, the so-called historic Design Review Board heard the case for this property to remodel this portion of the house. The property was upgraded also to contributing status, and the east, quote, east elevations were designated primary by the staff in that report. Since the practice of the board has changed, the staff requests that the primary facade designation be reevaluated. Staff recommends designation of just the east facade as primary according to the definition. You may find with further testimony that the south or the north facades also warrant a primary facade designation. That is my report, and I stand for questions.
Thank you. So Daniel, the bathroom, that was built in the 1950s, correct?
I believe it was the 1950s, at least, you know, we don't know a date. We only know, or there has been word passed down through the owners that this was a later addition.
Mm-hmm. So you're recommending the east facade, and you said possibly this, would you show us the south and the north again? You said possibly the south and the north.
I unfortunately only have these limited photos, but the plans.
So we have the north facade there.
The north facade, again, you know, the primary street facing elevation is this one. The other ones, you know, it's on a block with houses all in a row. So they have less visibility, and for me, the representative characteristics are this window and the portal. But for your consideration are also these, if you find that these historic windows or other aspects are worthy of preservation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. This is very representative of the houses in that area. Member Beachside.
Thank you. Does this property still have a garage? I think I saw on some of the older.
Yeah. The garage is still there. It also has a contributing status.
And are we addressing facades on that tonight?
I hadn't prepared anything for that, no.
Does it have a primary facade designated on the garage?
The east facade, I believe, is also designated primary for that.
So in the minutes when it said east elevations, do you think it meant like the garage east elevation and the main house east elevation, or do you think it meant the easternmost elevations of all north and south and east? Maybe there's no way to know, but it was plural, right? So I don't
yes,
know.
It's a little ambiguous, and that's why I wanted to have a clarification. My sense is that the practice at that time was that the staff just said, this is the primary based on how, you know, the staff's sort of understanding of primary facades.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
and that would have probably just been that front facade.
Thank you.
Any other questions? None. Let's call on the applicant and let's get the applicant sworn in.
I'm here, if you can hear me.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Steve Rivera. My address is 2305 Brother Luke Place, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Rivera. What do you have to tell us about the historic status of this property in
Okay.
reference to the primary facades?
Okay, so what I do know of the house, I was the contractor who did the remodel back in '06. At that time, the garage, which you're calling garage, is really a casita now. It's a guest house. And the board at the time required that we keep the look of the garage door intact, even though it's not an operable garage door, but it's still the same look that was there before. Okay.
Mhm.
Other than that, the east facade, which we're asking for permission to change windows out on the east,
Okay,
the
I'm
north,
going
and the
to
south.
interrupt you for right now. We can't discuss what might happen
Okay,
Right now, we're just addressing the primary facades.
okay.
Okay, so
All I know, that's all I have to add, I think. If you have any questions, please ask.
do you agree with staff's recommendation to have the east facade as primary and possibly the south and the north?
I guess we do agree with the east being a primary facade, yes. The north and the south, no.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Rivera, let me see if any board members have questions for you. Any questions for Mr. Rivera at this time, board members? It appears not. So I will take it to public comment at this time. And I will tell members of the public that I will limit you speaking to 2 minutes, and Nicole will help me with that. Correct, Nicole? Or Nicole, can you help me with that, with the 2 minute?
I will, yes. Mhm.
Okay, we have Stephanie Benenato and she needs to get sworn in.
Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Stephanie Benenato, PO Box 160 in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I think that since the east facade does face the street, that it is a primary facade, and some of the features are, I believe, defining. I know this will come up later, but it seems strange to designate it as primary and then ask for an exception. And I think the north facade is somewhat interesting as well. I don't think the south facade really warrants being seen as contributing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Board members, if you have nothing to say, I will entertain a motion. Member Katz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move to specify that the east facade of the building is the primary facade.
Is there a second? Member Beachside.
Second.
A roll call vote, please.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Rivera. We'll see you in another little while, I guess.
Thank you.
Next case listed under new business will not be heard this evening as indicated by Nicole. That would be at 910 Old Santa Fe Trail. And let me see. Hang on to little smidgens. And also the next case, Camino Manzano, is also not going to be heard, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we will go to this case, 810 Waldo. And it's 2021-003462. And Daniel, would you give us that report, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we sure can.
Okay. So 810 Waldo is a single-story, single-family residential structure constructed in a Spanish Pueblo Revival style. We've just had the east facade designated primary. The applicant proposes the following items. Item 1 is to replace the historic windows on the non-primary north facade. Windows on this facade are from the 1950s. These are the windows in question. Item 2 is to replace the historic windows on the east primary facade. So that's again this central window and the one on the what we presume to be a later addition. The assessment covered these two windows. Again, the request is to have them replaced. There's an application for an exception. There was a window assessment done, which concluded the windows that can be repaired. and their energy efficiency would be at best be installing storm sashes on the exterior. I have a photo, I think, in the packet. I'm sorry I didn't put it in the slideshow, but we can get that for you. The applicant requests an exception for the replacement, arguing that this will restore a more harmonious appearance and promote energy efficiency. The applicant also requests replacing the windows on the north and the south facade. So I'm sorry, there's a small error in the report, which is window replacements would occur on the north and the south facade, not just the north facade. Those are permissible since they are not primary facades. And also an application for a replacement on the east primary facade. Staff recommends, number one, approval of the replacement on the non-primary facade. Just a second, I'll let the dog out. Go on. So sorry. Staff recommends approval of the window replacements on the north facade and the south facade. Staff recommends point 2, approval to replace the bathroom window in the northern end of the east facade. That's this window, as it's not original to the house. And staff recommends a denial to replace the central historic window as the original. It's part of the original house and can be repaired, and finding that not all exception criteria have been met. The board may find on further testimony that the criteria have been met, in which case it could be approved meeting the design standards in sections 14-5.2 D and H. So I hope that's clear. Do you want me to repeat it?
Well, I think that you said that the north and south, they want to replace the windows there, and you said okay for that. And the east facade, the bathroom part, you said yes, because that's not original to the house, but denial of the historic window.
That's my recommendation, yes.
Yeah. But you also indicated that the window assessment was, on all windows, I guess, was that they were repairable, correct?
Correct. The assessment was only for these 2 front windows.
Oh, for the
according to the assessment, both repairable. The argument of the applicant was that this window in particular doesn't really fit the overall harmony. It doesn't contribute to a harmony of style in the house, and that would be for me a good reason to approve a replacement that would bring a little more integrity to the overall structure.
Okay, and would you take it to the existing and to what we have as existing and to what is proposed?
Well, this is the, let's see. The proposed, you can see here is a 3/3 design.
Okay, the proposed is 3/3?
That's what it appears in the drawing. That's what I have. I would refer to the applicant if he has more details on that.
And on the north and south, they are proposing what?
Well, this central small window is to be stuccoed over, eliminated, and these would be replaced with a similar, I think, an identical pattern.
Okay, thank you. Member Katz has a question or a comment.
I have 2 questions. One is for Sally. I think I'm right that the code says that on a contributing house, on a non-primary facade, architectural features need to be preserved, but not windows. Is that correct? I mean, I think that that's what the law is, which supports what Daniel is recommending, but it seems so strange that you would have to preserve, you know, any other architectural feature except a window, which is so much more prominent. Is that a correct reading of what the law is?
Member Katz, I'm looking for the, trying to remember where the windows and doors on the contributing structure are addressed.
Are you talking about D1A?
Oh, here we are. I think a lot of this is in D5, windows, doors, and other architectural features. And in 5A, it says, for all facades of significant and landmark structures and primary facades of contributing structures, historic windows shall be repaired or restored whenever possible. Historic windows that cannot be repaired or restored shall be duplicated, replaced in kind. Thermal double pane may be used. No opening shall be widened or narrowed. For all facades of significant contributing and landmark structures, synonymous little b, for all facades, architectural features, finishes, and details other than doors and windows shall be repaired rather than replaced. So I would agree with your statement that the code provides for protection of all facades of a contributing structure in terms of architectural features, but for windows requires replacement in kind for the non-repairable windows only on the primary facades, but not on the other facades.
Thank you. Somewhat anomalous, but I think that's what the law is. And I think that this proposal meets that. On the east facade, in one of the graphics, it showed that both of the bathroom window and the main window were both 1950s. Were they at the same time?
Mr. Katz, we don't have a lot of information on this house. So these are guesses based on the materials and what has been handed us from the owners. The HCPI is old and not detailed.
So we don't know the dates of the two windows at issue on the east facade.
No, we don't know.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Daniel, the windows that are being the windows that exist are wood and they are being replaced in kind?
I don't think they're being, I think they're being replaced with aluminum windows with double glazing.
All righty, thank you. And I see that, let me see, Member Beachside?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, I had the same question about, I mean, is the pattern the same? Are the lintels the same? Because I don't see that on the elevations. I don't see the proposed window designs on the elevations. So I have a question about that. And then I also had a question about the stucco. I think the whole house is proposed to be restuccoed. And is that cementitious? It is a contributing building.
I only have the information that has been provided. I would request that the applicant be consulted.
Yes, the applicant.
Okay, sure.
I am here.
Yeah, anything else, Member Beachside?
Well, I guess just the last thing is based on what Sally read in 5A1, if that bathroom window is historic, which it's labeled 1950s, that's what was in the packet. I think it's required to be repaired rather than replaced.
That's what the code says, yes, unless an exception is granted.
Okay, thank you. Member Larson, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'd just like to make comments, maybe addressing the applicant.
Okay, we'll call on the applicant now. Mr. Rivera, what more do you have to tell us about these replacements?
Okay, you can hear me okay?
Yes, very good.
Okay. When we did the remodel back in 06, we determined that bathroom was added on at a later date, just based on the construction of the room, okay? We wanted to replace it to try and be harmonious with the light patterns of the rest of the windows around the house. So really the only two windows on the east facade would be this one and the one next to it in the bedroom. The one, yeah, that one there that he's pointing out. That one there, it can be repaired. It is rotted. It's rotted out pretty good. It would have to be pretty extensive refurbishment if we do it. Now, if I can change gears a little bit on you, on the north facade, we are actually asking, yes, the middle window to be removed in its entirety. The one to the left of it is a window over a tub right now. We want to keep the same light pattern, but we want to reduce the size of it to half. Right now, I think it's like a 4 high. We want to go maybe to I think it's a 2 high. Because right now it's very low in the bathtub and it's rotted out pretty good as well from the shower.
Would you describe the light pattern on that? The proposed.
Well, we would keep the same light pattern, other than we would just reduce the size in half, the height of the window in half.
Okay. Continue.
I think that's all I have to add at this point. If you have any specific questions.
I think Member Larson has a question for your questions. Member Larson?
Hi, yeah, I just have a couple of questions and then just a few comments as well. I just wanted to just thank you for doing a window assessment. I think it really helps us to make a more informed decision. You know, Frank said earlier that windows are such an important part of a historic building, and I mean, I am in the school that they should always be repaired before going to a replacement, especially if it's not in kind. And I think that your notes really say it all here, where, you know, there are potential options for adding storm windows and other things to increase the efficiency. And then, of course, you know, removing any rotted parts will also increase efficiency. And we've had this discussion so many times in the past where, you know, we're trying to be more sustainable on the board. I always would say that repair is always more sustainable than replacing. So I just really want to urge the board to, you know, really take that into consideration. And for me, I am willing to bend on, you know, changing a light pattern by half or taking out the smaller kind of awkward window in favor of, you know, making the house livable or continuing to be livable, while also maintaining the historic appearance, because aluminum really doesn't have the same effect as wood. So thanks, that's all I have to say.
So Member Larson, I have a question for you. So your assessment is that in reference to the window assessment, that they were indicating that they could be refurbished. You are saying refurbish rather than replace on all?
Yeah, I would. I think that from what we've seen in all of the photos and all of the notes, there really isn't a reason to do sort of this, you know, haphazard sort of approval of keeping the ones on the primary facade while, you know, they all appear to be in repairable condition. We've all seen windows that are clearly beyond repair, where they're severely rotted out. And it's of course hard to see from a photograph, but I think there's been a very thorough assessment here. So yes, to be sustainable and also be in keeping with the historic character of the house, I really would urge us all to say that we should repair these windows before granting an exception to replace or to replace not in kind, really. So
Thank you, Member Larson. Mr. Rivera, also Member Beachside asked if this house is going to be stuccoed in cementitious stucco, same color?
Same color, cementitious. The only difference is it would be that hard trowel look that you're starting to see more and more of in remodels around Santa Fe. It's not the sand finish. It's more of that smooth finish.
If this is a contributing house and it has a sand finish.
It doesn't have a sand finish now.
Oh, it doesn't?
Does not. It's got the smooth finish on it right
Oh,
now.
it does have the smooth. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Member Katz.
I'm a little confused by Member Larson's comments. I don't think that we have authority to demand the reconstruction and repair of the windows not on the primary facade.
We're only referring to the primary facade.
Well, it was not clear that that's what Member Larson was referring to, and that's why I'm asking the question. And she also indicated, I think, sort of what the applicant has said about the bathroom window, that it doesn't match the rest of the windows in light pattern, and what he wanted to do is replace it with one that does, and that I thought she was saying that that sounded like a good idea to her. I'm puzzled.
So I was actually talking about the window on the non-primary facade. So I apologize, I wasn't clear with that. My opinion, as far as the bathroom window goes, the 1/1, I kind of could go in either way, but for me to be authentic and to really communicate the history of the house, I don't think that it's exactly the right decision to change that window pattern. But I would say that we really don't have a lot of information here. I know it's a wooden window and it's potentially a part of the same period, but I don't see a lintel. I don't see, a lot of detail. So it may have very well been sort of an afterthought at the time that it was installed, but we really don't have enough information, I think, to, sort of say that it has to stay.
Thank you. Did you have anything further, Member Katz?
I did, and it was sort of a question about the other window that has the divided lights. And I am sympathetic with the desire to have double pane and better window in that sense. Is it possible to replace the glass in the windows when it is rebuilt with double pane?
Are you asking me?
Or Daniel? Mr. Rivera?
Mr. Rivera, would know.
I can't give you an answer on that one because I really don't know. My experience with refurbishing these windows with a couple of the local guys who do it is that we put the single pane glass right back in. In talking to one of the gentlemen in town who does the windows, his idea was to put the single pane glass back in with a storm window on the inside. So again, my answer to that question, I don't know.
Mr. Katz, Daniel Schwab could respond also.
Yes, please.
Scott Ernst did the assessment, and his recommendation was the storm window.
Thank you.
And I think there's a photo of that in your packet of what it would look like.
Thank you for that. Member Larson, did you have something further? Nicole, do you have?
I just wanted to say that by code, using thermal pane as the pane replacement is allowed. So it is possible, but it depends on the muntin size and if that extra width can be tolerated by the wood. So.
Okay, and Mr. Rivera, you are replacing the ones that you want to replace you are, the ones on the east facade, you want to replace with metal clad, is that correct?
Yeah, wood clad or clad wood windows, correct. And they would be the same identical window that's really on the rest of the house right now. The same brand, same color, same everything.
So it's going to be a wood window?
A wood window with a clad on the outside, correct.
Okay, with metal clad on the outside.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Board members, if you have nothing further, I do have to ask for public comment unless Member Beachside, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I see on page 15 of our packet, there's a window schedule that says that all 6 windows that were assessed are older than 50 years, which includes that one bathroom window on the primary facade. And I think unless we grant the exception that one has to be repaired to comply with the code. I'm also just concerned that there doesn't seem to be an elevation for the north that shows the reduction and the elimination of the reduction in size of window 3 and the elimination of window 7.
That's correct. I was not under the impression that window 3 was going to be changing size. We would need to have updated drawings.
Yeah. Right.
If I can weigh in,
Yes.
I believe it was given to you, Daniel.
Okay, well, then I'll have a look. Otherwise, we'll request updated drawing.
Steve,
Nicole?
thank you, Madam Chair. Steve, do you have anything you can share on your screen, from your screen?
I was looking for it just now. If you guys can give me a minute, I can look.
In the meantime, I will ask for public comment. We have 3 people that have their hands up. And one of them has already been sworn, and that would be Stephanie Beninato. So I will start with her. Stephanie, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Stephanie Beninato, PO Box 160 Santa Fe. I think that the drawings that you need to have the drawings, and it's kind of surprising to me that this project came forward without showing the drawings and the changes. And we have on the primary elevation, you see what the proposed divided light window would look like in the bathroom. But we didn't actually have a drawing of the original, and a photograph is okay, but I believe that really the code requires these drawings, and not sure how that slips by. And the same with the north side, where it is going to be changed, but we don't even see the south side in terms of, I don't know if anything's going to be changed or not, but again, usually it's existing and proposed, both are required. And it just seems like shortcuts are being taken, and that kind of sometimes leads to trouble. I like the idea of trying to replace the window panes, double pane, but I think that it's very difficult to do generally with historic windows. I like the idea that the stone window would be on the inside, not the outside. And I do agree with both Member Beachside and Member Larson that replacement, a repair would be better. And I appreciate that Member Beachside looked at the window schedule up, because even though the bathroom might have been added on somewhat later, there's a 10-year period, and that still would make it historic, and apparently it is. And I can appreciate wanting them all to be divided lights, but for whatever reason, when it was installed, it wasn't a divided light. They made it very simple without a rental. And the other one, seems like one doesn't have a rental. Maybe that's on the north side. But I think that it is a clearly historic window. It is really set back into it. I don't think it was, as somebody said, an afterthought. I think it was what it is. It's a bathroom window, and they made it simple. Thank you.
Thank you. We have, hold on, oops. Sorry, I'm gonna move this here. So we have two other people, and we have a gentleman by the name of Jeremy Gubertau. I'm mutilating that last name.
Yes. Yes.
So sorry.
I'm Dr. Jeremy Guberteau, and I actually live in the house.
Okay,
Okay,
Doctor, you need to get sworn in, please.
All right.
thank you. Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Jeremy Guberteau, 810 Waldo Street, Santa Fe, 87505.
Thank you.
Yes, Doctor, you have the floor, and we will hear your comments.
Look, I have lived in a number of historic houses, and no one is more attuned to this than I believe I am. I just want to explain to you my thoughts in terms of actually living in the house as opposed to looking at the house from the outside. And again, it's your decision. So I just want you to understand our thinking in this. One is that in terms of the windows on the sides, which clearly have by law our purview to do, there are some of those windows which we might not replace because we like them, such as the windows in the kitchen. But we want permission to change them with windows of like frame, as we may. The one in the shower is impossible because you can't cover it with anything that will work. The window is rotting, and we just want to make it smaller so that it is copacetic with people actually taking a shower without having to have a curtain there that's all wet. And so I think that's, to me, that makes sense. The windows will be wood because we want wood windows. When we talk about the front facade, which I would like to, if Daniel, and thank you, I have to say and compliment Daniel for having explained to us the process and what you're interested in and what the rules are, and to help us out, even though we may or may not disagree on some of these things. With respect to the small window in the bathroom, we feel like that was a remodel. We don't know when it was done, but it certainly was added on. And we felt like that was a mistake on their part, that the window should have been, that's the only window with that appearance that is not multiple lights in the entire house. And we feel like, and many people have come up and, walking by and saying, what is that window about? And we think in terms of restoration of the home, that even though the window would be replaced, that it would restore the character of the home back to what we believe it should have been done at that time. The other window is one that we would like to keep. And we have actually hired Scott Ernst to give us an assessment of that, and spent money to do that because we wanted to know what could be done. I spoke to Scott in great detail because our issue is in that room with a thermal envelope of this house, which is not, Santa Fe has adopted the International Energy Conservation Code in part, and that room is a bedroom. You can actually see part of the bed and the pillows on the left. And I tried to sleep in that room. You can heat it up and it's fine, but 20 minutes later, the heat has all gone out the window. It's a very uncomfortable room. I asked Scott, could we replace this with double pane glass, because we wanted to keep the window.
Jeremy, are you still there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, keep going, please.
Okay, he said no, and he explained to me it was by 1/16 of an inch, that in this window, that could not happen. You can ask him yourself, but we wanted to do that because there needs to be some intact thermal envelope there. So his suggestion was to put up a storm window, and that would certainly solve that. The problem with that is the reflectivity. We would only put it on that window, and the reflectivity from the front would not be copacetic with the remainder of the front. In addition, by encasing this window in a glass, by glass on the outside, you can't open the window when you want to ventilate in the wintertime. And many people like to crack their windows because they don't like, they want a little bit of control over the temperature. So what we would like to propose, that if you can put that window up again, this is with the outside pane on there, the glass, and it's not convenient to use. It's not, certainly would warm it, but we would not. It changes the look of the window, and we like it the way it is. If you could currently, Daniel, put up the way it looks. We think, our opinion of this really, and actually several years ago, the window was smashed by someone breaking into the house. And he actually smashed the window because they couldn't break a pane and unlock it because the windows are painted shut. So we think we want to keep the integrity of the outside, that it's a beautiful lintel over the top. And you can actually see in, when we remove some of the paint and repaint it, you can actually see the way they have carved the wood to make it into that. Maybe you can see it a little bit. It's beautiful. So we're not want to removing that, and we're hopefully not to remove the center panel there. But the panes themselves, some of them are quite, even though they can be repaired, and we know that, the question is, what do we have after that? I mean, we have a window that, if we keep the outside frame as much as possible, particularly the center and that above, and you'll notice that added bathroom window doesn't have any of that we think that's beautiful, and we want to keep that. But it is going to be very difficult for anyone to really spend a comfortable night in that room in January, as I did, without double pane glass, which we can't do. And we can put up the storm windows, but to be honest, I just think that changes the look of the house. And two, the windows become, again, non-functional. So what we'd like to do is replace the moving parts of the window on each side to match, what was already done in 2006. Replace the other window the same in the bathroom, so that we can have an intact thermal envelope, as well as what we believe would be a very beautiful and representative character of the Spanish Pueblo revival home. So that was our thinking, and there you have it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments, and I'll see later if any of the board members have questions for you. Maybe before I go to the last public comment, you want to hold on, Member Katz? John Eddy from the public wishes to speak, and please swear him in.
Thank you. Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is John Eddy. My address is 227 East Palace Avenue, Santa Fe, 87501.
Thank you.
Suite D, excuse me. Madam Chair, board members, once again, you encounter a classic conundrum here, and all I can do is commiserate. I believe that the applicant is earnest in their desire to maintain the character of this house, and in fact try to restore it to a more harmonious vision. The 1/1 window although it is historic, I think that it does detract from the overall harmonious aspect of that elevation. And I do think that it had been added at a point when the builders were not being very sensitive to what they were doing. That having been said, if you are going to go with the code, I guess they need to maintain that window as is. But I certainly see that adding broken up light detail in that window would help immensely. I also think that the livability of the bathroom window over the shower or beside the shower is a big issue. And I can see that limiting the light design on that window and shrinking it up a little bit would make the house much more livable. So in the interest of making this house livable and a little bit more harmonious, I would suggest that you carefully consider whether or not exceptions are being made here. It's not cut and dry or clear, unfortunately, but there you are. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Eddy. And Member Katz, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a little confused as to the bedroom window. I thought that I heard someone say that the storm window proposed would be inside, not outside. And I'm also confused as to what is proposed to be rebuilt and what is proposed to be replaced. I thought I heard the applicant, or the owner rather, saying that what he was hoping to do was just replace the sliding portion of the windows with essentially the same thing, but would have double pane glass in it. So those are my two questions that maybe the owner could answer for me.
Yes. Can you hear us, owner? Would you answer those two questions?
Yes, I can. I had a long discussion with Scott Ernst about this, and we feel that, there are two views to this: views from the inside and views from the outside. Putting a storm window on the inside isn't historic. That's something new. Outside windows are historic, and yes, that's what's decided. We don't intend to put them there because we don't feel like we want to lose the functionality of the windows. We don't want them to so that we can use them for ventilation, as well as, someone needs to get out of a window, they can actually open the window. In terms of, I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question?
What are you proposing to do to that window if you had your dreams?
Yes, I would like to keep the T portion of the window, as well as much of the historic aspect of the look of the window, and replace the portion with the mullions and the multi-panes.
So just the part that slides?
Yes. Yes. If that's possible. I do not know. But I think we would be willing to have it, custom made if we need to put it in there.
And you also indicated, if I might interrupt, that all of this is going to be wood, replaced in kind, correct?
Well, except for the outside cladding, apparently, because that's protective. But yes, they will be wood windows. We don't want aluminum windows.
Yeah, but the outside, right now, the outside is wood.
Well, for these, we could make an exception. I will, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do, because we want to make everyone feel good about this project, because our hearts are in this. So, we're just saying what we would like to do.
Okay, thank you. Frank, are you clear on the two questions that you asked?
I'm not clear on the interior screen storm window. You wouldn't see it from the outside. You wouldn't know that there was an interior storm window.
No, but you see, it wouldn't be historic from the inside either.
Yeah, but we don't care about the inside. That's
I
not
know,
our
I
brief.
know you don't, but I live there. And to be
Yeah.
honest, it removes the functionality of the window. If we have a big insert in the window, we are actually looking at our own window through a glass case. And I don't think that's exactly fair.
So in other words, the storm window for you applicant owner is out.
Yes.
Okay.
And if we put it on the inside, we're likely not to want, if we're not going to open it or close it, why would we want to put any effort into restoring it? I mean, if we want to restore a window, we want to restore not only its appearance, but we want to restore its functionality. So, it's tough. And we have, we've spent time and dollars to try to sort this out. We can't think of another way to do it that would really, preserve the window in terms of keeping the parts that are really outstanding and just replace the parts. The window's the mullions are gonna have to be redone anyway. So we're proposing to do that as a sort of a meet me in the middle thing of keeping the look of the window and the historic parts that are key to its appearance, and to replace the moving parts that are really fungible in a sense, not with the material, but with the character of the home.
Okay, thank you. Member Larson, you have your hand up.
Thanks. Yeah, I just had one last comment just about how I think there's a huge misconception about historic wood windows and them being much more inefficient and not sustainable. But the fact is, we're able to take this window apart and replace weather stripping and other elements that would drastically improve the efficiency of the window. So I think that you would find that you would be much more satisfied in the long term, both with the appearance and the integrity of that historic material, as well as with your your ability to actually maintain and repair this window throughout the years. That's just traditional preservation knowledge. Is, keep the older windows and continue to maintain them. I think it's unfortunate that there is a lot of misinformation out there about how newer windows are somehow better. I just don't think that's the case. There's several studies done in that way. So I really think the best decision here is to repair this window. And if you find that you need the storm windows, that's what you kind of sign up for when you have a historic home. It's just a part of the functionality of older windows. Thanks.
Thank you. Board members, if you have no further comments or questions, I will entertain a motion at this time. Let's see, Member Larson and Member Beachside, you both have your hands up. Member Beachside?
I just wanted to give the applicant a chance to share that elevation that we haven't seen for the north facade. I'm not really sure how we can approve the window replacement without seeing an elevation. We do require that for every application.
It appears that they don't have it, as far as I know. Mr. Rivera said he had submitted it to Daniel, and Daniel said he didn't have it. So I don't know.
Look at the most recent email that he sent to see if the drawing is any different.
Okay.
I do have it.
Oh, can you
I
share
don't know
your screen with us?
how do I show it to you though? Are you able to see me?
No, we're not able to see you.
Mr.
Nicole,
Rivera,
what are the instructions to share the screen?
I apologize. You do have screen sharing capability, Mr. Rivera, if you're able to do it.
I do have it here.
Daniel's got it. Okay.
That was on page 3, Daniel, of the floor plans of the plans I gave you.
Just trying to share my screen here. Screen. Give me a second. I'm going to rotate this picture for you.
There it is.
So here, that's what it would look like.
Okay, let's study that a minute. Can you move that down a bit?
So here is the
Oh,
existing, and here it would be reduced to, with the bottom half would be
Mhm.
echoed over.
Okay.
I apologize if that wasn't in the packet.
Thank you for, Member Beachside, thank you for bringing that up. And Member Beachside, did you have any further comments in reference to this elevation that we are now seeing the proposed?
No, I don't.
Thank you. So again, I will entertain a motion. Member Katz.
Yes, in this case, number 2021-003462 HDRB at 810 Waldo Street. I would move to approve the application as submitted with all respects, and with regard to the two historic windows on the contributing facade, I would agree that the bathroom window can be replaced, not exactly in kind, but with the divided light, so it would much better harmonize with the rest of the house. And that I would agree that the exception has been met with regard to the bedroom window only insofar as it needs to be repaired and replaced, but that the sliding portions of the window may be replaced with sliding portions in the exact same light pattern, but that have true divided lights and two double pane true divided light windows.
Thank you. Is there a second to this motion? Member Larson?
Yeah, I have a question for Frank. When you say true divided light, are you referring to an aluminum clad window or a wood window?
No, it has to be a wood window. It has to be replaced fully in kind. So it's what's there is currently wood, and the sliding portions would have to be wood. But it could be wood with true divided double pane.
Thank you for that clarification. And so do I hear a second?
Excuse me, have all parts of the application been addressed, including the changing of the replacement of windows on north and south elevations in the re-stucco?
Yes, I said
Yes,
all of the
yes.
application.
Okay,
And referred specifically to the two other ones.
okay, thank you.
Is there not a second? Member Beachside.
I'll second for the sake of discussion. So I feel like we have, I know that we have in the past allowed the replacement of windows on non-primary facades, but we have typically required the primary facade to be replaced in kind. And I think even that Galastea house that was on our list of potential nominees is one of those. I do not think it's a hardship to maintain one window in your historic house that has, you're lucky enough to have windows in really good condition. There are options for including the storm windows on the inside, which the window assessor recommended. I think that's a very small price to pay, the extra expense of repairing that window to keep the authentic feel on that primary facade that contributes so much to the streetscape. So I would not be in favor of this motion. I would prefer that we require that central historic window to be replaced in kind and repaired. I mean, sorry, not replaced in kind, repaired as is.
The only difference was that I think Frank's motion was more or less that, except Frank, did you say what type of glass would they have to use?
They could use double glazed glass, but That would have to be true divided lights and just the sliding parts get replaced.
Everything would be in kind except the double glazed glass, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we do have a motion, and for the sake of discussion, it was seconded. So I will ask for a roll call vote.
Member Beachside,
No.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Larson,
No.
the motion has failed.
Is there another motion? Do we have another motion? Member Larson?
Yes, in case 2020-003462 HDRB 810 Waldo Street, I move to approve the application as per staff's recommendation. Items 1 through 3, so approving the window replacement on the non-primary facade, approving to replace the bathroom window on the end of the east facade, and also denying to replace the central historic window with the reasoning that it can be repaired and can be improved through that repair and its efficiency. And also finding that not all the exception criteria have been met.
Is there a second to this motion?
Beachside seconds.
May I comment?
Comment, please.
Yes, thank you. I support this motion, and I think that if the January nights are as bad as the owner suggests, they could put up and remove interior storm windows for when that bedroom is being used and when it's very cold out. And I don't think that that would be so awful.
But
Thank
I
you.
would like to ask the maker of the motion, Member Larson, for clarification. I heard the word denial. So what they are asking for, you are denying. However, would you be in favor of repairing that window in kind?
Yes, I will clarify in saying that the windows should be repaired in kind.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Member Beachside,
Sorry, I think I might need to second the revision of that motion, which I do, and then I vote yes.
okay, thank you. Vice Chair Katz,
This is on Jennifer's motion, right?
No, this is
Member Larson made the motion.
Oh, Mary Larson. Oh, okay. I would vote yes then.
Thank you. And Member Larson.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion has been approved.
Thank you. And owner of the house, I did appreciate your comments in reference to wanting to keep the historicity of the house alive. And good luck on your project.
Excuse me, can I just ask for one clarification?
Yes, Jenny.
Was there a statement on the proposal for storm windows on the exterior?
There was not, but as per the function of a historic house and historic window elements, storm windows are an appropriate solution to weatherizing the house for the winter. And they should be installed, in my opinion, on either the interior or exterior.
Does that have to be voted on?
It's not
Or
very-
is that just a statement?
Was this one of the
Is that-
items set forth in the application, Daniel?
No, I don't believe so.
I don't think we can vote on it.
Yeah, if this isn't expressly one of the items in the application, I mean, I don't think storm windows we really regulate because of their temporary
It's a
Okay.
reversible temporary
All right.
weatherization thing.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all very much. We will move on to the next case. And that case is located at 530 East Alameda. And it is also Daniel's case, and it's 2021-00-3533. Daniel, may we hear your report, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. "530 East Alameda is a single-family residential structure with contributing status to the downtown and east side historic district. The house was constructed in a Spanish colonial revival style, popular in California around 1934. On January 12th, 2021, the board heard case 2020-002974 HDRB in relation to the yard wall, which extends along the northern perimeter of the property and to the south along the sides of the driveway. If you refer to this little plan, this is the north perimeter, and then it also extends down the side here. This wall here. Sorry, my oval is a little weird. It includes this brick stairway. Oops. Sorry. There's a stairway here. You can just see right there. The fence on top of the wall was not designated as contributing, but the walls were designated contributing. The bricks are concrete and most likely made through a wire cut process. A detailed description is given in the HCPI. The eastern portion of the wall, that would be this side of the wall, over here. The eastern portion of the wall dates from around 1958, while the western and southern portions are later. That's here and this interior wall from around 1966. It is likely that at one time the walls were stuccoed, at least possible. There's some indications of stucco remnants on the wall. Small portions reveal traces of the stucco covering. Per section 14-5.2C1, it is a historic record of its time, place, through its materials and construction techniques of the bricks and craftsmanship of the walls, concave mortar joints, and as such has a high level of historic integrity. The board designated the wall a contributing status. The applicant now returns to the board seeking approval for the following items. Sorry, the numbers here refer to the items. Item 1, remove the coyote and dog-eared cedar fencing along the top of the wall. That's this. Item 2, to remove the concrete path. That's why the oval is actually down here. This concrete path should be removed. Item 3, repair the existing stairs to the basement. I don't have a photo for that relates to the house. Item 4, install a new stucco wall directly on top of the existing brick wall. That's shown with this illustration. The height would be to a total of 78 inches, which is the maximum allowable height. The wall will be stucco colored to match the house, especially a specialty color similar to Desert Rose by El Rey. The applicant requests an exception to 14-5.2D1A, the removal of historic materials or alteration of historic features. That's the one that I would highlight, or and spaces, which I interpret as architectural spaces that embody the status shall be prohibited. This is the wall in question. These are some of several examples that the applicant provided of historic walls with extra height added on. Item 5, apply stucco along the length of the interior brick yard wall to clarify, the brick wall would remain and it would be covered with stucco. The brick stairs photographed here would remain. The applicant requests the same exception for stuccoing the wall. And item 6, install Endicott brick pavers in the location of the removed concrete path along the east of the driveway. Staff recommends that the exception criteria have not been met and recommends in particular A, denying the yard wall along the street, finding the exceptions have not been met, and B, that the board request a professional evaluation of the interior wall to assess whether it is repairable. I, of course, didn't read into the record my various notes on the exception criteria, but to summarize, I would question the physical integrity of the bricks. I would question the assertion that the wall is in such bad shape that it has to simply be stuccoed over, and thus there should be a further assessment. And with regard to point A, my recommendation is that this sufficiently damages the contributing status of the wall and that not all possibilities were considered. For example, erecting a wall directly behind the wall, behind this wall, as well as other options. I can go into those if you prefer. I stand for questions.
Thank you. So, Daniel, the applicant is asking for 2 exceptions, and you did not agree with any of the responses to either one of the exceptions. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, I believe you didn't. I didn't see any. I agree. Also, would you put on what we're seeing right now, would you kindly put up the picture of the house itself? I need to look at that.
We had a discussion about whether the house matches the wall or rather the other way around. Clearly they're not of a piece, but the board decided at that time that it was a sufficient record of its own history and that it didn't need to match the house to warrant contributing status.
So Daniel, what we are seeing here on the left-hand side, this brick wall.
Yes.
That is the wall that where they want to add.
No, they want to stucco over this wall.
Oh, this one they want to stucco on the inside. Is that correct? Or on the outside as well? Just stuccoed all over.
It has a slight retaining function, so it's really on this outside portion.
So it's the outside. Okay. And then on the right-hand side, this is where they want to, okay, on this picture, I don't see any of that Latia fencing or.
No, this red thing is actually in the wrong place. So it's down here. This is not visible. This is standing in the driveway. This is Canyon East Alameda. And if you walk into the driveway and you stand approximately here, then you get this view.
So this is on East Alameda, the portion that is not paved, correct?
Yes. This is the view from the unpaved road, from also quite high up, about 10, 12 feet high.
Thank you. Member Katz. Thank you for your patience.
I'm a little confused by what is historic and what we made contributing.
My understanding is that both the brick walls are contributing and historic. Nothing was assigned to this wooden portion.
Okay. So, and what is the exception that's needed for, I understand the exception of covering the brick wall along the driveway. What exception is needed for removing essentially that wooden portion of the wall?
There's no exception needed for removing. There's an exception needed for erecting a stucco covered wall on top of the historic brick wall.
Because it would damage the historic nature of the wall?
That's my position. Yes.
And that there is an alternative, that they could just step the stucco wall back 2-3 feet, plant flowers in front of it, and it wouldn't, then they wouldn't need an exception.
Exactly. They could step it back 0.1 feet. They could step it back an inch or 3 feet or 6 feet or 10 feet.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other questions for Daniel at this time? There are none, so I will go to the applicant or applicants. Let's see who we have here.
Madam Chair, we do have Sandra Donner. I'm sorry, I
Yes.
didn't move her over earlier, but I think she's here. I don't know that there's anyone else.
Okay, Sandra, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Would you swear her in, please?
Yes, sure. Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sandra Donner, 1611 Paseo de Peralta, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87501.
Thank you.
Ms. Donner, you have the floor. What do you have to tell us about this?
Oh, yeah, lots. Okay, so I wanted to address actually what Vice Chair Katz just brought up, just because it's fresh in everyone's mind, and then I'll go into the exception criteria. But so when the wall was designated contributing in January of this year, it was designated contributing, basically being, stated that it's a low retaining wall that people could see over, so that you could see into the property with this low retaining wall. So saying that putting a stucco wall an inch behind the wall, the retaining wall negates its contributing status. So my feeling is that if that's the case, then it's not contributing due to the fact that it's a low retaining wall. So I think that that's incredibly contradictory to the original designation of contributing and how it was stated in the report. So that's one thing. The second thing that I wanted to bring up is that the actual maximum allowable height of the wall is 78.5 inches. And because this is a retaining wall, that is actually on top of the retaining wall. The owners do not desire to go any higher than 78.5 inches, which would be quite tall in this neighborhood, too tall, in fact, at least in my opinion. So I wanted to go through the exception criteria. I respectfully disagree with Daniel. I think that, I spent a lot of time working on this exception criteria. The wall, so we'll start with the wall along Alameda. The current existing condition is a combination of coyote fencing and mostly, dog-eared wood fence. So the wall right now is not, it is not a low retaining wall that has visibility over it. The owners do not have to take this wall down. They can leave this wood fence up. The second, so there were multiple parts of there's actually, hold on just a second. Let me flip. I've got everything open. So I just want to take a quick look at the criteria. So, okay, here we go. So exception criteria, do not damage the character of the district. And I'm sure you guys have this in your report, so I'll try and paraphrase it as quickly as possible. So in terms of the character of the district and the character of the streetscape, this is a very common condition. And I can assure you that I have been up and down every road in the historic and East Side district and photographed as many walls as existed. There are actually 3 walls within 600 feet of this house, which I would be happy to show you on Google Earth, which is also open, that are low stone retaining walls with stucco. There is, as far as I can tell, at least in the historic and East Side, there are no low brick retaining walls. So this is a similar condition, not an exact condition. In terms of preventing hardship, as I think most of us know, and certainly the people before me who live on Waldo Street, which is also dirt, there's an excessive amount of dirt kicked up along East Alameda. And because of, things like the compound parking lot and just access to other streets along Alameda, there's a lot more dirt than on a street like Waldo. The house is set back actually fairly decently from the street. However, and I can assure you, I've been in their house, there is, when their windows are open, there's dirt in their house. So the idea, they want to be able to mitigate that at least a little bit. It's not going to take care of it, but certainly, start to mitigate that issue. The third exception criteria, let's see. So the heterogeneous, so this really had to do with the fact that it's an existing condition and it will remain an existing condition if the exception is not given. The wood wall will stay. Let's see. And then on to the second wall, which is the interior driveway wall. And I know that Daniel has requested that it be assessed. I can tell you, I'm an architect. I have been an architect for a pretty decent period of time. I also worked for a structural engineer for 5 years. Is the wall going to collapse? No. It's also a 24-inch wall. It's not going to hurt anyone. However, it's in very poor condition. And this brick has not been made since the late 50s, early 60s. Actually the photographs that Daniel showed are a great example. It's in terrible condition. And it's not like it's a wall where, it's something like Endicott or a brick like that. These are concrete bricks. These are not bricks. They are concrete. Where we could go out and say, okay, well, we're going to just go to Endicott and we're going to match the bricks that exist and repair it. And they would be happy to do that. But this wall has water damage from the driveway. There's broken bricks. There's these photographs to me show that. And does it look like this everywhere? No, it doesn't. But it looks like it enough. And there's also multiple signs of, at some point in time, there was stucco on this wall. It's not everywhere, but there's definitely remnants of stucco on this wall. So I don't think we're asking for anything, particularly absurd in this exception.
Is there an example of the stucco, some stucco remain?
It's also on the inside of the stairs. So, yeah. So, that's basically it. I don't think these people have a lovely home. They have some really funny things going on this property. There were a lot of additive materials that happened, and they just want to clean it up and make it look like it's not falling down. And they just want to try and keep that dirt out of their property. So I don't think that these are unreasonable criteria, unreasonable exceptions. And yeah, I don't know what else to add other than, these seem like reasonable requests. And I would hope that you would, look at what I've said and, and what you're looking at right now, which is a brick wall that's not in very good shape. The brick wall along the Alameda is not in bad condition. I think because it's elevated, it actually, it didn't seem to incur the amount of water damage. So a clay brick doesn't get water damage like a concrete brick. It's a completely different manufacturing process. And these were also very cheaply made bricks at the Penn, I think from the 20s to the 50s. The wall itself was put in probably somewhere between 1959 and 1966. The house itself was built in 1934. And if we could look really quickly at the walls that Daniel showed 3 examples. I actually sent him 32, and I totally understand him not showing them all.
They're in the packet.
Yeah, the one on the right is actually on their property. So that is an existing condition on the property, on a wall that was built at the same time as the wire cut brick.
Chair Rios, do you want me to respond, or I can if you would like.
Well, absolutely. She needs to finish her, I would like for her to finish.
I think I'm done. I mean, I would certainly like to be able to respond to Daniel as well, but I think I've said what I need to say. Thank you.
We always have a thorough discussion. So for Daniel, you have the floor now.
Thank you. I won't try to go into too much detail, but my sense was that regarding dust, that a wall could be erected directly behind the brick wall and it would serve the same dust minimizing function while retaining the status of the wall. With regard to these bricks, again, I trust that Sandra Donner has more experience than I do with brick walls. However, the goal of designating a contributing status is to preserve material. And I think I lived in the former East Germany for a number of years, and saw some incredibly dilapidated buildings. I think that a lot of this material could be preserved, and that the wall could be rebuilt, and bricks that are irreparable can be replaced with modern bricks that clearly differentiate themselves from the historic bricks. That would be, to me, a sensitive restoration of the wall. I think those are my main points.
Thank you, Daniel, for now. Member Katz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't, when the brick wall along East Alameda was made contributing, it did not include what was on top of it. And I don't think that there was any implication that we were making it historic because it was a low wall. It was a low wall, it is a low wall, and probably the wooden fence came after the wall, but I think we had no illusions that somehow we were going to get a low wall. I think the board wall is quite ugly. I think the stucco wall that's proposed is a much more attractive way of achieving what is really the current state. I would ask the applicant whether there's any possibility of, rather than putting the stucco wall with all of its weight on the brick wall, of just putting it step back a little bit. I think it would enhance the contributing nature of the brick wall and not really intrude very much further on their property. I don't think it would be, I mean, it might be even more stable because you'd be building a foundation for the heavy stucco wall. Is that something that would be possible, applicant?
Yeah, I think that's a completely reasonable request. It is a little bit more expensive to build because the footing would be eccentric. But I think that is a reasonable, and it's certainly something that we've gone back and forth, with the clients, and I think that would be acceptable to them. One thing I wanted to add, so one of the intentions, so when I first came into this project, actually quite a while back, through the HICP and all sorts of stuff beyond that, the clients had wanted to do just a simple stucco and get rid of the brick. And one of the desires really of this exception is saying, you know what, we're gonna completely keep the brick on the front, and in keeping the brick in the front, which is in relatively good condition, then basically clean up and cover the brick in the driveway. So it was kind of our way of trying to compromise between the two and allowing for the integrity of this kind of odd material. It only exists from where I can tell. I believe it's on Garcia Street. It's just a few houses down from downtown Subscription. It's not a wall, they're actually columns. So I understand the desire to keep the brick, but I also think that we're doing it in a way where we're keeping the majority of the brick that's actually in good condition, and then inside the property, kind of dealing with the bad condition and making just a simple wall.
Member
Thank you.
Katz, did you have anything further?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Donner. Member Beachside.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support that idea too, like stepping the stucco wall back from the brick wall was my first reaction. But I'm curious about something I just noticed in Exhibit 4, which is page 25 of our packet. There appears to be a wrought iron fence inside the dog-eared wooden fence along the front Alameda, and I'm wondering what you might know about that.
Sandra, do you wish to comment?
Yeah, I don't know about it. The clients have done some metal work at some point. I don't believe it's old. I really don't know anything about it.
And where again is that located?
I don't know if maybe someone could bring it up on the screen it's Exhibit 4 in our packet, page 25.
Yeah, Daniel, could you bring that up?
Well, give me a moment.
In the meantime, I was going to ask Ms. Donner, what is the condition of the wood fence? Isn't it in bad condition as well?
The pieces of coyote that kind of flank the gate they're in pretty good condition. The cedar or whatever wood it is, it's not in great shape. It's not in terrible shape, but it's not, it's probably nearing the end of its life. It's probably been there 10, 15 years. Okay, now I've got the dog who needs to go out. Okay, I'll be right back. There you go.
Okay, let's see what we have. Oh,
I see.
I don't know if someone could zoom in. Like it appears that the wrought iron goes all the way along.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it was there and then they put the wood fence or what? It seems like it does go. How far back?
Appears to go all the way behind that brick, that wooden fence. To me, it doesn't look like a particularly historic construction.
No, it's not even like what you would consider wrought iron. It's like bent steel, for lack of a better word.
Maybe it's there to kind of hold up the fence. I don't know.
I don't think so. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for either Daniel or Ms. Donner at this time, board members? If not, I will open it for public comment. I see Stephanie Benedato has her hand up. Yes, Stephanie.
Stephanie Benedato, PO Box 601, Santa Fe, New Mexico. I appreciate that the applicant would be willing to put the wall facing Alameda back and not put it on top of the brick, because my concern is that it would damage actually the brick wall and because of that extra weight. From what is being said, it sounds like if that happens, that the wood fencing would stay in place. And so I'm curious about that. Maybe some board member can ask the applicant about that. And that's, I'm not having any opinion one way or the other, except that I think that it will not necessarily bring out the low brick wall, the retaining wall. On the part, and I just have to say, I do come down Alameda often, and it can be dusty when cars are going by, but that house is set very far back. It's hard for me to imagine that it gets all that much dust anyway. But I am concerned about the low brick wall going up the driveway being covered over. I understand there are parts of it that are degrading, but it would seem that it's degrading because it is a retaining wall. And that part, we haven't heard as to what the owners might want to do to waterproof that part of the wall so that the degradation doesn't occur. And really, to me, it is the brick that makes it contributing. It's a unique feature. And by making a stucco wall, it looks like any other wall, any other place. And I think that you lose the character of that wall. So, in my opinion, I believe the board should deny allowing the stucco of the low wall. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra, if you go along with the putting the wall behind the brick wall, are you going to take down the Latia fencing?
Oh, absolutely.
Fencing? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And at what height will the wall be, if the wall behind the brick wall?
It would be a total of 78.5.
So about 6 feet, 6 inches.
It would be, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. Yes, about 6 feet, 6 inches. Yeah.
Okay.
And one thing I did want to add. So also in terms of, so the first thing I did when I took this project on was I called our brick guy, Gary White from Kenny Brick down in Albuquerque. And the first thing he said was, I don't think these are 50 years old because they're in much too good condition. And what he meant by that is that this brick decays significantly. It's not a durable product overall. So him saying it's in pretty good condition he was surprised it was still standing up, because it was a bit of a stretch. And about it being retaining wall, it's partially that, it's partially construction. It's the sorry, crazy dog in the house. It's just, it's a porous material. The grout, the mortar between the joints is porous. So yeah, I think that was kind of all I wanted to say. Just that his opinion was that it couldn't be that old because it hasn't completely fallen apart. So.
Okay, let me see. Board members, do you have any further comments or questions? If not, I will entertain a motion. Member Katz.
Well, I do have a comment, and just looking at the picture that's placed up there now, and there's one that it shows to the right, and the wall just doesn't look that bad. I mean, there are places clearly that the close-up show that it is in bad shape and would need to be remedied. I'm not sure how many bricks themselves would need to be replaced. So I have a little bit of heartburn about stuccoing that over. I think the continuity that it has with the brick wall in front is very important. And Sandra's exactly right that street gets an enormous amount of traffic. But driving by, you see both brick walls because you see through the gate. And so I have a little bit of heartburn about that, and I'd be curious as to what my co-parts feel.
Okay, and is anyone ready to make a motion? I need to see a hand. Member Katz, Member Beachside.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
I just have a question, actually. Sorry.
Sure, go right ahead.
Sorry, maybe I've missed it, but is something happening on the, I guess, the east portion of the wall? It looks like in some of the photos that the wood fencing wraps around the corner there, opposite the driveway. Are we?
Let's see.
Is there a side street there?
Oh, yeah, it actually, yeah, I mean, yeah, you want to see something that was really badly done? Look at that corner. It is a development that was done. It was done quite a while ago. There's a bunch of houses back there, and this is actually a piece of that property. I think technically it's part of a condo, but it is basically there's a stucco. Yeah, I'm not sure you kind of can see it. See, there's mailboxes and then there's like kind of stumpy pilasters and stone around the bottom.
Yeah,
And that was not one of my examples of a retaining wall with stucco on top, by the way.
So that wall is not part of the application, right?
No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Anything else, Member Beachside?
No, thank you.
Okay, I'm still ready to entertain a motion.
I suppose I can make a motion.
Okay,
Sorry.
there you go.
Yeah. It's kind of a river rock nightmare.
Okay, Member Beachside, you have the floor to make a motion.
Thank you. In case 2021-003533 HDRB at 530 East Alameda, I move to approve the application with the following conditions. That the new stucco wall along East Alameda be set back from the brick wall and not on top of the brick wall. By, I guess I would say approximately a foot, although I would appreciate the architect's input on that and maybe leave that at the discretion of the architect and with staff approval. And that the second part of the application to stucco over the driveway portion of the brick wall be denied because that alters the historic contribution that brick wall makes to the streetscape, and the exception criteria for that have not been met. I approve the other parts of the application to remove the existing concrete path and to replace that with brick, to repair the exterior stairs to the basement. That's approved. I believe that is everything.
Yes, and is
I
there a
would second that motion.
Member Katz seconded. And do you all feel comfortable with allowing the architect to make the decision on the distance between the brick wall and the stuccoed wall?
Might we say 1.5 feet, minimum 1.5 feet, and as much further back as they wish?
Member Beachside?
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Thank you. I'll accept that as a friendly amendment. So set back the new stucco wall at least 1.5 feet from the interior portion of the brick wall, and further back at the discretion of the architect.
Roll call vote, please.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Yeah, oh, thank you. But the maker of the motion did not indicate that the exception criteria had been met or hadn't been met.
So sorry. So the exception criteria for stuccoing over the retaining wall along the driveway have not been met. And with respect to the other, I think that we've sort of put a condition on that allows the exception criteria to be met.
But I wanted you to address the fact that now you don't really need.
Right, because as submitted, the exception criteria are not met, in my opinion, with the setback that is acceptable, and the historic brick wall is unaffected by that addition. I guess I should also add that we would like the plans to be resubmitted to staff before applying for a permit with these changes.
Thank you. And Sandra, thank you
Thank you.
for coming in this evening. And we will move on to the last case. And that is at 302 Santa Street. This is case 2021-3539. And this is Nicole's and Angela's case. I didn't see Angela this evening. So Nicole, are you presenting? And you are muted.
Yes, Madam Chair, I am presenting. And I believe Angela's present. She's just been watching and listening in.
Okay.
This case is at 302 Santa Street. My presentation will be brief because the applicant has requested to share his presentation with the board. So 302 Santa is a vacant lot located right here on Santa Street between Gomez and Allendale. And here's a photo of it. And the applicant is proposing to build a 1,153 square foot residential structure and a 228 square foot portal. An exception is requested to exceed the maximum allowable height of 15 feet 8 inches. They wish to build to 17 feet 10.5 inches. And they're also requesting a pitched roof and have an exception request for that because there are fewer than 50% pitches in the streetscape. They did provide exception criteria, and staff agreed with all of the exception responses, considering that the height is preferable with this pitch than a two-story structure, that there's significant limitations on the property that kind of warrant this style. And then I think that a two-story would ultimately look very awkward on this lot between these two houses. And then, so for the pitch and the height, staff agreed with all the responses. The applicants provided the finishes. So there'll be bullnose rounded corners at the windows and the doors. The stucco will be adobe. The windows will be divided light and clad in the color linen. Exterior wood will be in the color linen. The roof is a 5V crimp is what's proposed, a metal roof. And the fence will have pilasters that are stuccoed in adobe, and will also have cedar latillas with irregular tops. And the staff recommended that the exception criteria have been met, and that the application recommends approval of the application.
Thank you, Nicole. Nicole, did I understand you to say that they are going to put a wall in front?
Yes.
And at what height?
That wall is proposed to be at 4 feet 10 inches. Well, the fence will have, it says 16-foot pilasters, and I'll let the applicant correct that. But the fence is proposed to be 4 foot 10 inches.
Okay, and do you know how far back the house will start from that sidewalk?
I believe it's 7 feet is what the setback is here.
Okay. Let's see, Member Beachside, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, just a question for staff. I think, we heard this case before, and at that time, the staff's recommendation was that the exception criteria had not been met. And I don't see a great deal of difference between this design and the previous one. And it's slightly shorter. I'm just wondering what, in your opinion, has changed to change that recommendation?
So there was a disagreement between staff, I think would be one element in terms of what the considerations were So that would be one element. And then the other is that, so since that case was denied, we brought it back as a new case with the modifications of a lower roof, because one of the comments was is like it had a top hat kind of look to it. And then the rafters now are exposed along the bottom of the pitch in order to give it like just a little bit more open and more kind of broad kind of look. So those are the most significant. And I think that the applicant can give a presentation that will kind of show where this height comes in over the maximum allowable height and the constraints on the property in terms of the setbacks and why a 15-foot, 8-inch single story house wouldn't work on the property. And then nobody is really interested in the 2-story. So
Nicole, they are obviously asking for a pitch roof exception. On this particular street, are there any pitch roofs?
there are within the streetscape some pitched roofs. Let me find my.
Can we look at the Google map?
Yes. Give me 1 second. Okay, so let me get here into the streetscape. This is the lot. Okay, and then this is across the street, you have this pretty flat roof, low pitch, and then you have this pitched roof across the street. If we go to the west, trying to get the broadest view here. We have pitch details here, and then we have at the end of the street, 2 pitched roof houses here. Okay, and then, oops. I'll go back down the street. And here at the end of the street, here is this little pitched bungalow that I would say is kind of similar to the style that's being presented. Different, a little bit different, but there's some similarity. This one does have a not a metal roof. Okay, so those are the pitched roofs in the immediate streetscape. We're in the.
Will you take it back to the lot?
Mm-hmm. I will. Let me just get back here.
Okay. I just wanted to see the houses in the immediate neighborhood. And can we look at the houses, that pitch roofed house on the other side of the street?
Mm-hmm.
That, okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions for Nicole, board members, at this time? I don't see any hands that are up, but we will get the applicant sworn in so he can present.
Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Scott Cherry. My address is 2351 Fox Road, Suite 800, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87507.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Cherry. Would you kindly present? And as you're presenting, would you tell us the difference between this evening's house compared to the one that was presented to us previously?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen here with you guys. I hope this is working.
It's coming through.
Does that work?
That's working.
We
Okay.
see it.
Right on. Okay, so this is the lot at 302 Senna Street. And let me see if I can, and I'm not able to navigate with it in this mode. Oh, there we go. So this is a model of this proposed structure. So we have lowered the height of the roof a little bit, as well as exposed these rafter tails, which those are the changes that we have from the previous case that we presented to the board. And that was after discussion with staff and feedback from that case. However, I think what I'd like to do is go through this with you and show you the a couple of things. This sheet, this plane right here that's gray, shows the height limitation of this, of the calculated height of the allowable calculated height. So you can see right here that the only portion that sticks above the allowable calculated height is this portion of the peak of the roof. So, and per the most recent staff report, it was pointed out in the staff responses to expound a little bit on the design options that we went through. So I'd like to do that here with you guys. Again, another visual of the amount of portion of the building that's sticking out with up into this, the area above the allowable height. So one thing about this lot is it's the smallest lot, I believe, on the street. And then when you add in the setbacks and you add in the distances from the adjacent structures, and you add in part of those setbacks there's a height setback from a zoning standpoint of 5 feet for the structure, which also allows for the 2-foot overhang into that setback. And then another setback at 14 feet, 10 feet, 14 feet high, 10 feet back. So you can see from this visual aid that we've nestled this into those setbacks. And we did consider quite a few different design options. These are a couple of interior elevations. Oops. Okay, wait, I don't have full control of this with the screen sharing, sorry. I'm hitting to go back the other direction and it's only going one direction. So I apologize for that. Let me unshare this and try and see if I can do that. Just give me 1 second, I apologize. I don't know why.
We're not the first one or the last one that has had issues, so.
Yeah, it's like PowerPoint's not working when I go to screen share. That's odd. So it looks like it's only going one direction. So I came off, I backed up, and now I'll go through this a little slower. Thought I could go back and forth, but it's only allowing me to go one direction. So if I do move this direction, one of the criterias that we're trying to meet for the client is to have some storage space and have some outdoor space on this property. And with the lot constraints, there isn't really any good options that we came up with for an accessory structure for storage and allowing for outdoor space. So this particular design gives us an opportunity to add this loft space within this, what I think is a pretty modest house. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. You can see from the visual aid here, there's only a small amount of standing room up here, but it does allow them some additional storage space, as well as in this area, there will be some attic storage space. So the pitched roof allows that, where even a flat roof at the maximum allowable height would not. And I agree with Nicole. I don't think that a 2-story building on this street would be appropriate. So we were trying to balance a lot of different things in settling on this design. This is a picture of the house on the west end of the road. So we've mimicked this open rafter tail design, which I quite like. And then on the opposite end of Center Street on the east end, this is another picture of a house that is in the streetscape. And I believe the main body of this house has a pitch that's very similar to the pitch we're proposing. There are a variety of pitches on this street. I think that's one thing about this street, is there are quite a variety of different architectural vernaculars. But I did want to point that out, that I believe this pitch is very similar, if not the same, as the pitch we have. These are the elevations. And again, you can see the exposed rafter tails. We've lowered it. This shows you the wall. As Nicole pointed out, I must have a typo in there where I denoted the pilasters at 16 feet. They're not, there's 16 inches. And the fencing has been lowered in this area for visibility. This is the site plan, which shows, I don't know, because of the position here, can you guys see the site plan on the bottom of this?
Yes.
The viewer of the Zoom viewer can block it if it's on the bottom. So
I can do a zoom in too if you need me to, Scott.
okay, well, one thing, this just shows the setbacks and the adjacent buildings. And these circles are 10-foot radius circles where we need to keep the building away from these other structures as well. So you can see we've really, in these corner areas, just really designed it to fit within the only available building envelope, which is quite small. And however, in addition to that, we're allowed 55% lot coverage, and we are at 48. So we're below the amount of lot coverage that we're allowed to build on this lot, which I think is valuable and worth pointing out. Let me see. So again, we did explore other design options. Here's a parapet perspective at the allowable height. So the building above the proposed structure, that's actually at the above proposed height comparative to the structure with a parapet below sorry, not the proposed height. That's at the proposed height, which is above the allowable height. And the visual below is from this exact same perspective of the allowable height. So I think that a parapeted structure, even built to the maximum allowable height, would look much more imposing than the pitched roof structure that we're presenting. Again, other perspectives of that same visual aid. And this is that 15-foot, 8-inch height that is the max allowable height without the exception. These are just quick visual representations to give an idea of different design options that we did explore and we didn't think were as good. So that's the end of my slideshow there. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Scott, thank you for the visuals. I think those help us a lot. I'm wondering, what is the roofing material that you're using?
It's a metal roofing. It's called the profiles of 5V crimp. It mimics a raised seam roof. It has flat panels in between with it's not a total vertical seam on the top. It's a smaller V-shaped crimp seam on the top.
And what is the color of that?
Bronze, dark bronze, which would, that's the closest color that we can get to, what a patinaed copper would end up looking like. It's that dark brown that copper goes.
Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, how much square footage are you gaining by for the storage on the
Sorry.
Posing a picture.
How much square footage of loft space are we gaining?
Yeah, how much square footage of that storage space?
I have that. That's in the exception criteria. Let me find it.
And also, Nicole, is the neighbor to the left, do they have a two-story house?
The neighbor to the left, let me look at this, hang on. I was looking at that
Or do they have a portion that is two-story?
They have, it's up several steps from grade, and there's a finished basement below.
Yeah.
Okay, but it is not two-story?
No.
Okay. Oh,
This
okay.
house, yep, and then this is the other house here.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
it kind of, the parapet.
And there is one more pitched roof house behind that house, Nicole, that you didn't show on the street, the one right behind the white house.
Oh, yes.
Elizabeth West's house.
It's a bit back off the street, but
Here. This is the.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Member Katz, you have your hand
Yes.
up?
Thank you. Congratulations, Scott, on your awards.
yeah, well, thank you for awarding me.
No, you deserve them. You deserve them. My question is that the loft area is for storage.
Yeah, the loft area is for storage, and I have that
What is that square footage?
square footage. So I would say the loft area is storage plus. That loft area in the section I showed was, you could go up there and there's not a whole lot of room up there. You could put a desk and a, sit down and have a small home office up there. So that area could be used dual purpose for storage, and it could also be used for some office space or even a sleeping loft, potentially. However, I don't know about that more so than just, I think, office space. And then the area that's to the east, so to the left of where you see on the top image where you see the person standing, that's attic space. So the loft area where you see the figure is 120, let me see, I just had it. I think it's 126 square feet. And the attic storage space will be 78 square feet. So it adds about 200 square feet of storage without, having to have some sort of outbuilding.
Did you consider the possibility of a little bit basement storage space?
Yeah, we did actually. I think that that a basement storage space, one, it's quite expensive, and two, I think it would be impractical because it would eliminate a lot of square footage with some kind of staircase. The house to the east has a staircase in it. You know, it's got a much bigger footprint, but stairs eat up a lot of square footage. And one of the challenges with this site and this whole project is size.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for the applicant? Or comments? Okay, Scott, it seems like they don't at this time, but they might in a little while. Let me
Okay.
see, I'll open it for public comment. And let me see who has, we have two people with raised hands. And we have Stephen, I crucify all these last names, so in a way I'd rather not state them, but Stephen, Beili. So would you swear him in?
Yes. Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Stephen Belly, just like stomach, belly. 449 Camino Don Miguel in Santa Fe, 87505.
Thank you.
So some of y'all know that I design houses in Santa Fe, and what you may not know is that I used to live on Galastea, right where Sena dead ends. So I'm very familiar with this lot and this street. I used to covet the lot. Every time I would bike by there, I would see it and be like, I want to build my house there. But I'm currently designing a house on a tiny lot in another one of the historic districts. And so I'm very aware of the challenges that designers face trying to meet all the zoning requirements for a tiny lot. It's unbelievable. And Scott has identified those in terms of the private open space that's required when you're using the 55% lot coverage provision, and the setbacks, and the fact that he's keeping the distances to the neighboring buildings that were built closer than setbacks would have allowed, all of that sort of thing, while also trying to find a way to create a reasonably sized house for folks. So I think this design does a fantastic job of addressing those challenges. And I just wanted to throw that in there and say that I hope the board is able to grant the variance for the height issue, considering this is not a flat roof house where the whole house is extending above the height limitation, but just the middle part of the pitched roof, as the applicant and Nicole have stated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belli, for your comments. And now I know how to pronounce your last name. Thank you.
Great.
Stephanie Beninato.
Now I'm unmuted. Thank you. Stephanie Beninato. I understand that Mr. Chair has come back with a slightly different design. But again, the reason for the pitch is to have an office space upstairs. You are not necessarily required to maximize the use of the lot. It's to get a reasonable return on the lot. And a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house is quite a reasonable living space. And it is a small lot, but that was known ahead of time. And the staircase going up to the loft is taking up as much space as the staircase going down to a basement. So I don't really see the difference. And if it was just to make your roof a little different, and it was a much lower pitch, not high enough for somebody to stand up in there and to have a workspace, you know, as the one across the street seems to be, I would be a lot more supportive of this. But again, it just seems come back, lower the board down, try again, just as with the house, the roof on Don Gaspar last week. So I'm asking the board to find that the criteria has not been met for the height exception. And I do believe that the house, although Mr. Cherry has shown me drawings of what a parapeted roofed house would look like at 15 feet. I'm not sure why you would build a house that tall. And certainly there could be features that, such as the portal even, could have been raised a little bit higher to make it less stark looking. Thank you.
Thank you. And Stephanie, by the way, you are really coming in kind of, I don't know if the the right word is, like muffled, kind of, we can understand you, but there's this kind of a scratchy sound to your voice, just for future.
Thank you for letting me know. And I'm using both a headphone and the camera, Zoom, the camera I use for Zoom. And then I had a hearing this afternoon, and I only had my headphone on, and I didn't have the microphone really close up to me, and I was told that I could be heard perfectly. So I'm not sure if
it's a little scratchy there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate it.
We have Julie Gallegos.
Hi, good evening.
Has her hand up and she needs to get sworn in.
Thank you. Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Julie Gallegos, 300 Santa Street, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87505. I am the owner of the lot, 302 Santa, and I live right next door. I was born and raised in Santa Fe and have been in this neighborhood now for several years, and I would really like to stay in the neighborhood. We really appreciate the location, and we have lovely neighbors. And as our family has grown and evolved, we've really wanted to expand onto that lot rather than sell, move out of the area and buy a larger house. So we see this project as a multi-purpose, multi-generational project. It's going to help us with our growing family to have a little bit more space. But I also see it really also as a place to accommodate my aging parents. They're going to need more assistance in the next year, if not sooner. And if they're next door, I can manage that. We've been working really hard with Scott to meet our needs on, in a lot that's very, very small, and without compromising the neighborhood in any way or the style. And we think that's, we've worked really hard to remain sensitive to the character of the neighborhood. We spent a lot of time walking up and down the streets and noting the mix of styles. It's not our intention in any way to compromise, but we hope to be able to be an asset for the character of the neighborhood. So that's just a little bit of our intentions for the project. Thanks for your time, and we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Gallegos. Member Beachside, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess just a couple of comments, and I really wish the architect on the board was here, because I remember the last hearing there was a lot of discussion about the scale being right for the neighborhood, and I wonder if when I'm finished, maybe Mr. Cherry can speak to sort of the presentation of scale of this house in relation to the rest of the neighborhood, and how he thinks that harmonizes or doesn't. But I kind of think that the addition of this house, which is not similar to its surrounding houses, is maybe the best way to fill a vacant lot in this neighborhood. It adds to the diversity. It doesn't look like it was there always. It's definitely a new addition. It's amazing that there's a vacant lot in this neighborhood, actually. But I think like a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom house is very typical of this neighborhood. That's the size of the houses. That's a great use of space, and definitely livable space. What I don't think fits quite as nicely is the size of the proposed fence and the automobile gate or vehicle gate. So I think that 4'10" is far too tall, considering the very short walls on either side of this property. I realize that there's some across the street that are maybe around the same height, but it just looks like it blocks this off, and rather than allowing it to interface with the rest of the street, I think a shorter, less than 4 feet fence would be in better keeping with what's around it, and definitely the vehicle gate. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's a lot of vehicle gates in this neighborhood at all. And I believe your neighbors have sort of open driveways, which would, look better, I think, with this property. And that's it.
Thank you, Member Beachside. What does the vehicular gate look like? That's it?
It looks like the fence.
Oh, okay. Also, when I looked at this, I don't think, maybe there are some, but I don't think pilasters are used very often in this neighborhood. Mr. Cherry and Nicole, can you comment on that? And then I also wanted you to comment in reference to the height of this house compared to other pitched roof homes, which I agree with Ms. Beachhead's comments that in this neighborhood, they do have a variety of types of homes. They do have some pitches. They do have flat roofs. It's an eclectic type of neighborhood. They have a lot of, they have bungalow style homes. And well, let's see where this takes us. But can you comment in reference to the pilasters? Usually they just have low walls.
Sure,
Low,
I would agree with you actually that they're low and they're cinder block and stucco. Generally speaking, we could look at the streetscape again, the Google Maps.
And really the houses, I mean, compared to some of the houses that we see, obviously the lot is small, so they couldn't make a really huge house. And 2-bedroom, 2-bath home. What's the square footage of the house, Scott? It's what, 1,500 around there?
1,100 and change.
1,100, yeah.
Okay, so existing is this coyote fence that goes along Blacksmith Alley and the back of the property.
Mhm.
Here you have a low rock wall, which is common also. And that looks like it has like.
I know walls in this neighborhood have also been going up.
Yeah, a little getting higher. Here's one that's stucco with stucco pilasters. I'll just do this immediate block real quick. Here's one with some wood lattice at the visibility triangle. That's stucco.
And that's a pretty high wall.
Here's stucco with stucco pilaster. I would say, yeah, maybe on that side of the street, there's a little bit more height. Here's, let's look at this. Here's a coyote gate or fence, I guess, and some stucco wall. Oops, here's a low stucco wall.
Mhm. See, that to me is more typical of the way I've known that neighborhood, but things do change. Things have changed.
This one has no fence in the front. And then as you get a little further down, there's more non-historic homes.
Okay.
I'm happy to speak to that too.
Yeah, would you please?
Sure. Well, I guess the first thought I have is that I think one of the real consistent elements in this streetscape is its inconsistency. You know, it's very eclectic and there's a lot of variety in this streetscape. I can tell you the driving design decisions for that pilastered coyote fence wall, as it would be called, is there's, you know, already a pre-existing coyote fence, as you can see on the one side and on the back. And we didn't really want to do that. It just felt incorrect to loop coyote fencing around the whole thing. I think, you know, as you know, Julie owns the house next door, and their intention is to make this kind of a family interface area. So they have the house next door, all the outdoor space against the street, it has that low wall. And so they're looking for a little bit more height and some variety. So that the fence height is, we're not asking for an exception on the height. That's the calculated height. And then the pilasters serve two purposes. One, to use coyote that was in keeping somewhat with the coyote fence on the side and the back, but not make it just a homogeneous coyote fence. And two, to support the gate structure that goes into the house that's being proposed, and the people gate structure. There's a people gate structure on the driveway side, on the east side, and on the north side, which is the street side. And the the auto gate, which was built to look like the fence so that it didn't look like an auto gate. So those were the intentions of that design and what drove that design. I think that I also wanted to address the scale in regard to the whole scale of the building. I'm not the kind of person who tends to like to build out lot lines and say, okay, what are the lot lines? Let's build to them. I think this, and actually we haven't, as you can see, we've used 48% of the 55%, but this is of the buildable area. I guess this lot, it sort of necessitates, just by its scale, some aspect of building to the setbacks, just because of its size. And I think we've been conscious of that. And the scale of the building, I don't think, is out of keeping the other pitched roof structures on the street. I don't have that right in front of me, but I know the one on the far west end of Senna is, I believe, 19 feet and change. Is that right? The one that I showed the photo of? I can pull that up because I have it. But there are pitched roof houses on the street that are higher than this house. So, and again, that criteria is set by an average. So, I do know we're asking for an exception, but I think we've considered all those things, and it's an exception that's in keeping with things that are already that are aligned with the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. And Scott, what's the height of the fence, the proposed fence?
410.
410, and then the gate goes to what?
The gate's lower.
Yeah.
Because the pilasters are high. I think when you have a pilastered wall with coyote or any fencing material between the pilasters, to me, it looks odd the other way around. If the fencing's higher than the coyote, I think, to me, it always looks better if the fencing's like 2 inches shorter than the pilasters.
I think that's traditional. I think that's the way it's done. But okay, let me see if board members have anything further to add. Member Beachside.
All right, just a couple of follow-up questions. So is the vehicle gate sharing the driveway on the neighboring property, or is there a new?
No. If you go, Nicole, back to the site plan.
I was talking and I'm on mute. Sorry, I had to open the site plan.
Yeah, and then while you're looking for that, I've got this up 806 Don Cubero's 19.6 feet high.
So you wanted this, Scott? Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah. So if you look at the site plan there, yeah, right. You can see the proposed gate structures. Yep. So there is parking for this lot that's independent of the other lot, which is a requirement, for us to provide parking. you can see, I'm sorry, I'm moving my mouse around like I think you can see it, which you can't. So there's the auto gate is on the corner there between the two pilasters. So again, another reason for the pilasters is just trying to have some structure to support a gate realistically. My experience is, the gate would be a steel structure with latillas attached to it. Trying to make a wooden gate structure and attach latillas is just, I think it's a waste of construction energy. It just falls apart over time too quickly. But that pilaster design again keeps just ties into the existing coyote fence really well. So we don't have to propose something new for the sides, but we get something that's in keeping and then supports those gate structures pretty sufficiently.
Okay, yeah, sorry, thank you. Yeah, I understand the need for the pilasters on either side of the gate, but it's a very short distance across the front of the house, right? Maybe 60 feet. And then a quarter of that is already lowered for the visibility triangle. It seems to me that a consistent height of 3 feet across with maybe a gate with 2 pilasters in the middle and resisting the need to put in, or maybe the need to put in additional pilasters. And I think I already said what I felt about the vehicle gate. I think that's sort of out of keeping with what's in the rest of the neighborhood. But lower fence, I think, in my opinion, would be better.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else on the board wanting to comment or ask a question? If not, we are ready for a motion. Do I see a hand? Member Beachside, were you ready to make a motion?
Yeah, I can do that. Sorry, I just not.
It appeared that you had the most comments, so.
I know, sorry. Okay, case 2021-003539 HDRB at 302 Senna Street. I move to approve the application, noting that the exception criteria for height have been met, and with the following condition, that the front fencing, the new coyote fencing, be no higher than 3 feet across, with an exception for the gate and pilasters, the pedestrian gate and pilasters, and that the vehicular gate not be constructed.
Is there a second to this motion?
Member Beachhead, I just want to clarify, you said the exception criteria for height have been met, also for the pitch.
Oh, sorry, the pitch roof. Yes, also for the pitch roof. Yes, as documented by staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Was there a second to
the motion?
Okay. So may we have a roll call vote, Melissa?
Yes. Member Beachside?
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz?
Yes.
Member Larson?
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question of clarification?
Yes, absolutely.
So you said that the rest of the fence be you said 3 feet across, which would be a linear dimension. So I want to clarify what you mean, what we're talking about with this fence and 3 feet across where?
I apologize. I was intending to say 3 feet, no taller than 3 feet high in height.
Okay. So across to the, okay. So I guess a follow-up question for me is if it falls, I think there won't be a need for the people gates if there's no auto gate, because you just wouldn't have a gate next to an opening in the wall. So if that's the case, would we be allowed to get staff approval on an alternate fence that fell within those requirements?
That's acceptable to me. Does staff feel comfortable with that direction?
Yeah, so I'm understanding that it not be higher than 3 feet tall. There's no vehicle gate. And then whether or not there's a pedestrian gate, staff will determine and approve. And possibly the gate or the wall won't be the latias and pilasters. Is that what you're saying, Scott? Like that maybe you would just do a stucco wall or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just assuming that just taking the auto gates off, you know, that those created part of that yard space that was, you know, included the driveway. So it had created some flexibility where if you didn't have cars in there, you could have an enclosed yard and have kids playing in there and not wandering out on the street or what have you. And if we just take the auto gates off, it opens the yard space to the entire, to the street. So I'm assuming that with the intent to put up a wall around the yard space, that the client is going to want to create some alternate type of fence structure. So I'm just wondering if when we create that, if within the parameters of the motion, we can have that approved by staff, or if you want me to bring that back before the board, just the fence.
So I'm just gonna put out a hypothetical situation to kind of see if we can get where we need to be. Okay, so here is the driveway. Here's the proposed vehicle gate. Is that correct, Scott?
No, you're 90 degrees. So you can see the gates. The proposed driveway runs north-south. So up and down on the screen where it says, yeah, right there.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
And the vehicle gates are on the Sena Street side. Mm-hmm. So I'll obviously have to discuss it and work through it with the client, but see the way that it is designed now, that parking area can be flexed into yard space.
You're talking
if that
about
makes
this?
sense. Like you can park in there, but it's enclosed in the fenced area of the whole lot. Let's put it that way.
You're talking
and
about
so in removing the gates, it's going to just open the yard. So you couldn't have a dog in there. You couldn't have kids out there. So more than likely we'll redesign something we'll move that fence that's between the two properties. We would probably move it. You know, again, I have to talk to the client about this, but I'm just assuming there's going to be some alternate design to enclose some of the yard. And so at this point, all I'm wanting to know as far as clear direction on that is within the parameters of the motion, would that be staff approvable or would that need to come back before the board?
Okay, so let me go back to what I was going to say, which is that right now you're proposing enclosing this so that this can be part of the yard, but really you could do a wall or fence here.
You could.
And then you would still have enclosed yard and there wouldn't be a gate. This would be like an open tandem driveway like you see in the neighborhood.
Correct.
So if the board finds that that's acceptable for staff to approve, I think that something like that would be fine. And given the short amount of space here, it would have to be lower than 4 feet to probably about almost to the house. Because it has to be 20 feet back before 6 feet can start.
Mm.
So this would still be a relatively low wall.
Madam Chair, is it appropriate for me to
Yes.
make a comment? So I just wanted to say my main objection was just the vehicular gate on the street. I don't know if there's a design where the gate could be pushed back. I understand your desire to enclose the yard, and so maybe there's some flexibility there if it were pushed back, and so that it wasn't right on the street as a solid wall, solid fence.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might be better to come back to the board. I don't know. However other people feel.
How do the rest of you feel, board members? Because I can hear the applicants indicate that if they want to enclose the property, if they have a dog, if they have young kids.
I think it would work to set it back the way that Jennifer was just talking about. And I was wondering if it were like a wrought iron gate that you could see through, that wouldn't be quite as blocking, but it would give the fence to keep the dogs and kids in.
Yeah, I think that Nicole can work with the applicant, but it's the decision of the board majority. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think it is the decision of the board, and I wonder if, with the guidance from Jennifer on perhaps moving the gate back, that Scott wouldn't come back to the board with sort of a clearer plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, to get the project going, I would eliminate the fence and then redesign it and come back with the fence as a separate.
Okay.
That sounds wise.
I mean, I would either do that or I would build the fence up to the driveway with the parameters set forth in the motion.
Mm-hmm.
And then, make an altered plan for an amended fence for that corner section where the parking interface is.
Yeah, I think that's an acceptable solution. Maker of the motion, do you agree?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay. So you can go forward with most of the project except the fence, I guess. I mean, that's in your ballpark.
The fence with the way the motion was set, though, correct? Without the way it is, lowering the fence and no auto gate.
Right. Or if you want to come back before the board, that is your option as well, after discussing with your client.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Scott. And thank you, board members. That was the last case this evening. Do we have any discussion items? Do I hear a big no? Or Sally, do you have anything to tell us? Nothing on the, nothing coming before the council on appeal?
There is nothing that I haven't announced previously. Tomorrow night.
The one on Guadalupe?
Guadalupe tomorrow night, 6 o'clock evening session. We'll be streaming on YouTube. So any member of the public could watch.
And that's going to be on what day?
You're watching. I think there's a couple other public hearings. I'm not sure how late it's going to start. Hopefully not too late. And
but that's stated. Okay, that's stated in the agenda for the city council, I'm sure.
It's the 6 o'clock session. However, the 4 o'clock session looks like it might run over past 6 o'clock, as sometimes occurs. So that's what makes it tricky to predict. So depending when the 6 o'clock session actually starts, I think it's the second public hearing. I don't think the first one will take very long. I think it's just maybe I don't remember, but I think it didn't look very significant once we get to the 6 o'clock session, whenever that happens. And then there's still the other one. I do still anticipate 1299 Canyon Road coming before the council on May 26th. So I just need to confirm that the notice got published in the paper for that, and I need to hurry up and put a packet together for that. But I do anticipate that will happen in 2 weeks.
Okay, so they're keeping you a little busy there, Sally. And I know Nicole is definitely busy, and so is Daniel and Angela. And Angela, well, I don't know if you're listening, but we hope to see you next time. So the next meeting will be on May the 25th. And ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. It is almost, you want to wait one little minute or it's 8:59. Let's just adjourn and you all go enjoy the rest of the evening or go to bed.
Thank you.
And Frank, did you have a nice birthday?
I did a wonderful visit with family back east.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Great.
That is always good. And happy birthday again.
Thank you.
So you all, will see you next time. Good job.
Thanks,
And-
everybody.
Thank you.
So